corner when I'm not presenting.
Listening in.
And listen in.
Hey everybody, welcome to Bass University Live here on Tuesday night.
Take a quick break, watch John Cruz's on the Tokyo rig.
Be a part of the show, get some chances to win some awesome prizes.
This Bass U go. You know, we didn't have that back then. And dude, it could just...
That text thread gives me so much energy. I mean, like I'm dialed.
Welcome to Bass University Live, Classic Edition, NPFL Edition. We're super excited to be here. Such a big week in fishing. The Super Bowl of bass fishing is taking place this week. We're all going to be there. There's been so much tournament action going on. The elites have been hot with my partner here, GDP. Been fishing down in Florida for a couple weeks. Now we're coming up to the Classic. The NPFL had their inaugural tournament of the season. Crazy high water scenario. Water coming up 11 feet. More than that. I can't. I wonder exactly how high it came up. We're going to find out. But we've got Taylor Watkins, the winner of that tournament, using. It's really cool. There's been some cool old school techniques that are winning tournaments. And he won it on a spinnerbait. We're going to learn more details about how he adjusted to the high water conditions. And tournaments was won by, we were just talking about this pre-show, Buddy Gross breaking out the Carolina rig and won a tournament there. So we're going to be talking about that. And we've got Ronnie Moore from the Bassmasters going to be coming on. I want to know your picks. Who's going to win the Bassmaster Classic? What kind of weight is it going to take to win? That'd be a good time to guess. Well, we're glad to be here. We got the whole crew. We're in studio. BTC, we heard you got us up and running. Thought we were going to have a little trouble, but here we go, man.
No, never trouble. I got my man Riz on the side.
Yep.
Spinning the wheels of steel or something.
That's awesome.
All right.
We're going to have you guys down in South Carolina. Are your bags packed?
No, haven't packed a damn thing yet. Nothing, not one thing. I started to look for my backpacks and stuff as I left, but it's a mess. Shouldn't be here right now. Should be home, but I'm here for you.
That's right. We're glad you're here.
For the people.
Stressed out. We're drinking alcohol.
We're glad you're here with us because we got to have a show this week. We got to talk to everybody about what's happening in the sport of fishing. It's Classic Week, and it's good to have you in studio tonight, man.
It's good to be here, Pete. It's been a while since I've been home.
I know. It's good. We saw you down in South Carolina.
Yeah.
Or South Carolina. South Florida, I guess. Central Florida. And you had a great first tournament of the season, man. It was really cool to see.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun down there. It always is, for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did you use a Carolina rig in that tournament?
I caught one fish in that event on a rig, yep.
Is that right?
Yep.
Because GDP gave a seminar this year for Bass U on the Carolina rig, and it's kind of – I love that because I still throw it. A lot of people love it. A lot of people hate it. And then Buddy Gross goes to the Harris chain and wins on it.
No doubt. I mean, it's a strong tool for sure. Also, I'm curious to see how, talk more about how he won this because last year I did a high muddy water seminar also for Bass U. So from what little bit I saw, some of the tactics I talked about is what he did.
Well,
yep.
It's cool to see. It's great to have you here.
Yep.
And we also got JK Satellite down near the Classic area, close to it. How you doing tonight, buddy?
Oh, dude, I'm so excited. This is the week, man. This is the week. We're on my home pond. You know, I love it when the Classic comes to Hartwell. And the thing I'm excited most, they got it right. The weather, what the fish are doing leading up to this. You guys think you know Hartwell from all the ones before. This one will be nothing like Hartwell Classics in the past. I'm telling you guys, fireworks are gonna be set off this weekend. And so I'm excited to see Hartwell flex its muscle to show everybody what an amazing fishery it is. And yeah, man, I'm fresh off a derby. I feel like I got in a boxing ring and was 4-on-1. Just totally got my tail beat last week.
Oh, congratulations,
well,
man!
Hell yeah.
You got in the check line in an impossible
Yeah.
situation, rising water, and you pulled it out, man. No fish at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and you brought 2 to the scales. Come on, man, that's a win.
Yes, it's a huge win. It seems like that's always my story. No fish at noon or 1. We got to work on opening the tournament. But dude, I got to give a shout out, and I almost did this, but in my social media post, but it was so long winded already. I saved it for the show. I gotta give a shout out to the 4 of you sitting right there in that studio, and Ike. I have had so many discussions with my Jersey boys about mental toughness and dealing with like true winter time grinders. And I don't have a lot of experience. Like I went up there and fished that one winter derby with Brian, and it was the most miserable thing ever. I never caught fish 40
It's weather, not me.
Dude, I'm telling you, but I got to give a shout out to you guys because it just, I just mentally was able to stay in it and fight that big gorilla on the back, and man, ended up, it's going to be way more interesting to talk to Taylor, but I had the most fun 75 minutes to end that tournament. Now they were all smallmouth. We had to have an 18-inch limit. I think I caught 8 smallmouth on a crankbait, just glued to a bluff wall in I had a waterfall area that was causing some current, and it was like a little eddy, it was a little slack current spot. And dude, I went up and down that stretch the last 75 minutes and just caught smallmouth on a crankbait, man. I mean, you can't get better than that bite. I'm obsessed with smallmouth, and just had a lot of fun. And thankfully, 2 were good keepers, 3-pounders, and brought me home a $9,000 check. So Mama was happy about that.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, is that what that place paid? $9,000?
Yeah, paid $9,000.
Talk trash
24th.
now, Pete.
All right. I can't talk trash. That's a good payout.
Real good.
Yeah, I'm super happy with that. And then we're going to Hartwell in late April.
Oh boy.
We got a big time shootout just within my own house. The 3 of us traveling. So, we all have good experience on that pond. Patrick Walters and Trent Palmer with Sonar Pros. All 3 of us are staying together, and we have formed quite the little rivalry and trash talk going on. So it's gonna be fun to duke it out with each other, and hopefully that will help us all push each other to a good finish. So we'll see. But
it's a good start.
Super excited to get out there.
Yeah, it's good. Great start, and man, we're excited. We're gonna have Taylor Watkins on, who won that tournament, going away. Oh my gosh, like just a crushing giant stringer of largemouth. As that's what I thought. He had 5 largemouth, but we're gonna find out all the deets and going old school with a spinnerbait. I also want to give a shout out to Ike for doing well at the Harris chain. Getting back into Bassmasters. Great to see him back in Bassmasters, coming across the weigh-in stage, and made the cut down at Harris chain. Fishing, it looked like he was fishing amongst the crowd. Looks like he was one of the guys duking in Party Cove, duking it out in Party Cove.
That's why he did so good. He's really good at that kind of fishing because he's used to it, I feel like, around here. And it kind of really separates, some guys like him. For sure. I wish I was in that mix, but unfortunately I wasn't.
You drove past
I drove right by
it. In Florida, if you see a pile of boats, don't drive past. That's the rule. Yeah. Where the boats are, that's where the fish are.
Everybody's power pulled down. I'm like slaloming around them.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
sounds about right.
Trolling motor on high.
Trolling motor high, blowing out everybody's spot behind them.
Yeah.
Playing defense.
Little offense, little defense.
I saw Brian Schmidt, shout out to him, had a top finish.
Yep.
And watched him for 4 days. He had a camera on him the whole time. It seemed like he was on the same little space, like stretch of grass or cut in the grass or ditch or whatever he was fishing. Yeah. But for 4 days, he was like right there, never moved. and
I think
just caught 'em.
Brian's he's the opposite of like
Yeah.
Brian picks every single blade of grass apart.
Right.
You know, where I'm kind of like Ike, I just kind of meander through it all and work my way around it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw what you're talking about with him too.
I know.
Watching
every shot
Schmidt
was the same.
throw a swim jig is a thing that everybody should watch. If you haven't watched live, when live's on Brian Schmidt and he's throwing that swim jig,
Yep.
you need to pay attention to what that dude's doing because it's special.
Yeah.
It's he's really next level with that, and you can just see when a guy's super dialed with a technique like that, and that is Brian Schmidt. And by the way, we have content from him on BashU.tv. We filmed with him about swim jigs a couple years ago.
Of course,
and the
we
way
did.
he did.
We had
So.
to get the content. He's
Yeah.
he's the best at it, and certainly
Sure
one
is.
of the best. And so go check that out at BashU.tv because right now we got the classic special going on. 50 days free or $50 off an annual subscription. So go get yourself subscribed. We're going to be giving away some stuff tonight. And guys, we're going to be at the Classic, by the way.
What?
Make sure you come
Oh,
by
yeah.
and see us. Especially if you're a subscriber, we got something for you. Come by, see us at the Classic booth. And if you're not, make sure you come by and get yourself signed up. What else we got going on tonight, Riz?
Yeah, so tonight, as always, Pete, we got some giveaways going on. Going to be sending some prizes out the door. We got two Gills Gear $25 gift cards going out tonight for questions that we use on the show. We'll ask you for your email address after you ask a question if we're going to use it for a Gills Gear gift card. And also, we have a giveaway from Hobie tonight.
Yes.
A pair of Hobie Mojo floating sunglasses are going to be tonight's grand prize that we're going to be giving away at the end of the show. These sunglasses, guys, are super legit. They float. They're super comfortable on your face. They're lightweight. The lenses are awesome. If you haven't checked out Hobie Eyewear, you need to give them a look. Like I said, tonight that is going to be the grand prize at the end of the show. And also, we are doing a Facebook like and share. So if you're watching over there on the Facebook airwaves, please like and share tonight's feed, and you'll be entered in for a chance to win a $50 sponsor pack from all of our awesome sponsors here at BashU TV. And guys, just want to send a friendly reminder out to everybody out there. We are now partnered with Tackle Direct. And one of the cool benefits that you get as a BashU TV member is you get 15% off your first order to Tackle Direct as a BashU TV member. So, guys, get loaded up on all your spring fishing gear right now. If you're a BUTV member, save 15%. That's going to put some cash back in your pocket to get loaded up on all the fresh spring gear. So check them out if you haven't already, tackledirect.com. Tune in, guys. It's going to be a great show. Pay attention because to get that grand prize trivia tonight, you're going to have to be really locked in to
have
get
to
the
know
answer to
something.
the question. Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta know something.
I love the trivia stuff and love Tackle Direct, guys. Check your email for your coupon for Tackle Direct. By the way, I just got something chucked at me.
What is
but
that?
it's a little swimmer.
It's like a little sluggo, doesn't it?
Tiny.
I got
There's baits flying all over the studio. The energy's high, guys. We got T. Watkins coming in, Mr. 23 pounds, two-time Taylor Watkins.
And I'm not wearing a tool belt tomorrow.
Yeah, for like 4. Well, I wouldn't say that. We got to get the studio set up, PDC. We may need that tool belt for another couple hours, brother. All right, we'll figure it out. But what? Do you want to take a break? Do you want to get right into
We're
Taylor?
taking a break.
All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to get everything set here. We'll be right back with the champ of the NPFL talking about muddy, rising water and spinnerbaits. Be right back after this.
AquaView, the leader in underwater viewing technology. Find what you are looking for. Catch more fish. Have more fun. AquaView. Seeing is believing.
Why do you love catching fishing rods?
I'm truly losing less fish.
Is the sensitivity of the rod.
that they're made right here in North Carolina in the USA.
Strongest, lightest rod, 100% made here in Sanford, North Carolina.
From the drop shot rod to the flipping stick. Every rod has a purpose to it, and I rely on them all the time when I'm out there in a tournament.
Durability in the John Cruz Wormman series, the counterbalancing in the handle.
It's the only rod I found that can withstand my hook set. Boom goes the dynamite.
We're different. Some would say obsessed. There's no place on earth we'd rather be than right here, right now. Performance-driven gear, so you can fish longer, harder. Gill's Performance Fishing.
All right, welcome back to Bass University Live, Bassmaster Classic Edition. Really excited. We're going to have Ronnie Moore coming up. We're going to be talking about classic picks. It's been so fun watching him do the fantasy fishing and how he's dialed in on each angler, their strengths, their weaknesses, and I look forward to picking his brain about how he thinks this tournament's going to go. So, guys, it's wide open. Ask your questions. We use him on the air. We're going to give you some cool stuff. Can't wait to talk to him. But right now, our own Justin Kimmel just competed in the NPFL and did really well. A top finish down there and scored a check. Tonight, we have Taylor Watkins with us, who won with a monster 23-pound bag. And we got him with us tonight. I can't wait to learn about how he adjusted to the high water conditions. So let's welcome Taylor Watkins to the show. How are you tonight, buddy?
I'm good. How are y'all?
Man, we're doing pretty good. I mean, have you come down off the high yet? That had to be a pretty big win.
Yeah, I hadn't seen anything but stars since Saturday. You know, no sunshine for me, no clouds. I've just been above those.
That's so awesome. It's like the greatest feeling in the world. It never goes away. The next day when you wake up, it's one of my favorite times because you relive everything all over again. And it sounds like you're still reliving it even still.
Yeah, I had to get to work Monday, and I got to work Monday. Reality hits pretty quick then.
Well, man, it was stellar. Obviously, a very, very challenging body of water in general, right? That body of water can be challenging especially early season. You've got real cold conditions. My gosh, you had days canceled. The water level came up. Man, how in the world did you crack that puzzle?
Man, so for years I fished jackpot tournaments, starting back home, and I would fish at Cherokee or Douglas or Norris, and we would get to practice on Saturday and Sunday the weekend before. Well, whenever you practice a week before, you have these conditions that come in, and we have these flooding rains and, tons of changing conditions within 5 days. And whenever I saw these conditions coming and I saw, the amount of rain that we have and the lake rose as much as it did, I've seen it time and time and time again that largemouth in the river win these tournaments. Every time somebody finds them, somebody catches them really well up in the river. And you can go down the lake when I say down the lake, I mean like towards the dam, towards cleaner water, and get a good check, get a top 10, get a top 20. But the dirty water, the cranking, the spinnerbaiting, that's my strength. That's what I like doing. That's how I like fishing. So whenever I saw how tough the conditions were, I decided that I was going to put the baits in my hand that I was confident in, and if I wasn't going to catch anything, I wasn't going to catch anything my way. I wasn't going to go down and not catch anything doing things that I don't like to do, that I'm not super confident in.
That was a great strategy. So much that makes sense. But like the one thing that kind of throws me for a loop is in cold, muddy water. Like you went into the face of what everybody says. No. When the cold, muddy water is what you stay away from.
Well, yeah. I had practiced the area that I ended up initially fishing during practice, and the water in that area was bumping that 50-degree mark. I mean, it was all over it. It was 49.8, and it was bumping it. And I got 3 bites. I got 3 bites in that particular creek, and then I picked up the trolling motor and I just kind of idled through and eyeballed different things. I knew the watercolor was going to change. And so the watercolor where I got those bites was that perfect green tint. The closer you got to the river, it was muddy. That middle section was the right section during practice. And then the further you went back, it was gin clear, super clear. I could see 6-7 feet deep. And I just took that look, I went back through and just kind of all through, and I knew I wasn't going to catch anything back there really during practice. But I wanted to take that look. So I knew that going into this tournament, that clean water would eventually be flowing in. So if I found that perfect section of that creek where that watercolor was the right color, and hopefully I just crossed my fingers that it would be the right temperature. And it was. It had actually warmed. So it was 52, 53 degrees whenever I got in there the day of the tournament on Saturday.
That's intense, because I saw other guys like they had Keith Carson on camera. He was fishing in the 40s, low 40s. He was running from, but you found that warm water pocket up there. What was the water temperature down where you were fishing, JK?
43 on the main drag. I found one creek that the main creek was running 47 when all the other ones were running 45, and I kind of identified that one as home. And then I would chase when the water came in Tuesday, our last practice days, when the rain started. I could already see that rain was warmer and making those run-ins warm. And everybody knows that Cumberland, when this thing comes in, the drains or warms, run-ins could play. So I just kind of was trying to find the warmest water, and I did that. I chased warm water. I fished 51 to 52 degree water all day in the tournament day, but I had to move. Some of the stuff that I'd found a really good largemouth hole, a lot of big fish. They were pulled off. When I fished out, I refound what I felt like relocated the group of fish, and they were close to a secondary point, but pulled off into the gut like 25 to 30 feet. And I don't know if I should have come back. Taylor, I want to ask him if his fish were kind of doing the same thing in the morning. But I ran back to that creek, and it was just dirty. It didn't have that green water or anything. So I fished warm mud, but never. I ended up having this little hole that was rushing in clean water. It came up 13 plus feet. It was the same color as when I found it in practice, except 13 feet higher. And I identified a ledge that was above my rub rail on the bluff. It came out like 6 to 8 feet. And that's where I caught all those smallmouth, was on that ledge, when I saw it. But Taylor, man, you mentioned to me that, so not only the conditions, you had other anglers with you. I think you said 7 or 6 guys out of the top 10 fished that creek.
Wow.
Were you duking it out? Were you like having to fish behind guys? Did other people fish the juice stretch first? Tell us kind of about how you dealt with all that traffic in that area.
So if not everybody already knows, the way this tournament was done completely different than any tournament of this size and magnitude ever in the history of tournaments ever. So we were able to launch at 3 locations: the Burnside Ramp, Conley Bottoms, and the dam. We all had 1 day shootout. So in order to get everybody equal amount of fishing time, they staggered the takeoff. We had 30-minute flights because we do a drive-through weigh-in, so they want plenty of time to get people through. So flight 1, wait 30 minutes. Flight 2, wait 30 minutes, so on and so forth. I was flight 4. I did not get to take off until 8:40 in the morning. I slept in. It was nice. But anyway, yeah, I think that was the key. I got good rest. But anyway, so when I took off and I got into the creek, the particular creek I wanted to fish, there was 5 or 6 guys that were going up and down the main stretch that I really felt that I needed the key on. And so I went past them just a little ways, and, you know, I kind of found a little spot to fit in, and I started fishing, and I fished for 100 yards. And then after I fished for 100 yards, I met a guy head on, you know, and he just turns around and goes right back the way he was going, you know, just right. And I'm, you know, and then I turn and look behind me. There's a guy behind me.
Oh,
I look across. There's a guy across. And I said, I'm not doing this all day. Like, I need 2 or 3 bites during this tournament to get a check, to get some points. But I was going to survive. That's it. I had 4 bites in 3 days of practice. So I knew it was going to be tough, and I didn't want to be fishing behind somebody. I thought that I could find 2 or 3 fish that had pulled up where I could get my spinnerbait to them or get my crankbait to them, and that's all I was looking for. So I pulled the trolling motor up, and I just started going further into the creek. And as I went further into the creek, I could tell the water color was slowly changing. And I came to a fall, and where that fall was, I put the trolling motor down. Where I put the trolling motor down, the temperature went up 3 degrees.
Wow.
You know, within, you know, a couple of minutes, my trolling motor, you know, adjusted to the temperature, and I looked down, and I thought to myself then, hey, settle down, calm down, pick this place apart. There's some fish that are pulled up somewhere in this area for sure. And that's what I did. I just kind of started picking everything apart. When I actually got to the area that I ended up catching all the big ones on, it was exactly what you were talking about, JK. I actually broke one off on a spinnerbait, but it was in about 16 or 18 feet deep, sitting on the outside about 8 or 10 foot off of the bank. You know, wow. I was creeping that spinnerbait, and that kind of, you know, the light bulb didn't go off then. You know, it was just kind of like, man, that stinks. Like, that was probably a really good one. So I just kind of gained my composure, tied another spinnerbait on, and kind of kept going down the bank. And I think about 3 casts later, I caught a 3-pounder, and it was right up on the bluff, right up against the bluff where you want them to be. And I just kind of, you know, I was fishing slow, but, you know, just, I was looking, I was in hunt mode. And I kind of kept going down the bank after that. And I ended up fishing some other stuff. There was another run in on the other side of the creek. So I went to that particular run in, pulled up on it, and the water was just continually getting a little cleaner and a little cleaner the further I went and the further I went. I ended up catching number 2, number 3, number 4, and then I made it to the back of the run in, the very back part, and I caught some shorts, probably 2 or 3 shorts. And so at that point, I decided, you know, what's the next move? Do I go back towards the other anglers, or do I just keep pushing further back? Well, I made the decision to just pull a trolling motor and go as far as I possibly could into this river, into this creek. And I did. I went all the way till I couldn't go any further. And wherever I stopped the boat, I could see the current coming around the corner. I could see, you got me, guys?
Yeah. I don't know what that was, but
I don't either.
It's all good, man.
Brian,
you could see current.
Yeah, so I got current coming around the corner, and, you know, I love fishing current. I grew up fishing current. It's a strong suit of mine, and I actually swapped spinnerbaits at that point. I swapped to a 1/2-ounce War Eagle spinnerbait with double silver blades, double willow leaves, because the water had cleaned up that much. And I just started picking fish off. They were set up perfect. Anywhere there was an eddy, anywhere there was a piece of cover that was laying in the water and it made an eddy behind that piece of cover, there was 2 or 3 fish sitting behind that piece of cover. But if there was a big rock, there would be a good sized rock that I could see, and I could see it making an eddy behind it. I would catch 1 or 2 off of every one of them. And I made my way all the way up into that creek, into that river. I mean, it was it was flowing so hard that my trolling motor was on 100 and I was just sitting still.
Wow.
And so I would have to hit the eddies to move up and then pull, to maneuver through this creek. It was flowing. And I ended up culling, I don't know, 3 times, but it was small culls. It was only, a quarter of a pound, a half a pound at the most. And I ended up with 1, 2, 3 pounders and then 3 fish for, that were 2 pounds a piece, maybe 2 1/4 at the most. And so I really thought that I had found the area. At this point, my whole mindset had changed. I had 4 or 5 good bites, and I knew how tough the lake was. And I thought to myself, I've got a chance to win this tournament now. I need to find a good one. I need to find a big one. If I find a big one, I've really put myself in a good opportunity to win this tournament. So I thought my best bet was to back out of that area, let everything settle down, give it some time, and I'll hit it one more really hard time before I had to go back in. And I came back down the creek and fished the little run in that I fished and got 4 out of. And so I made up my mind. I said, I need to hit that little area where I broke that one off early this morning and where I caught the 3 pounder. And I made my way over to it, and I got up against the wall, and I made the exact identical cast that I made to catch the 3 pounder, and I caught a 5.7.
Oh, wow. You're paralleling the wall. Is that what you're doing?
I was really close. I caught 2. I probably caught 2 that I wasn't paralleling the bank, but I really figured out that the more parallel I could get on that bank, it was almost a guarantee. It was almost a guarantee if I was paralleled. If I was off of the bank a little bit, I would get bit sometimes, and it had to be the right cast. There was a giant tree that had broke off, and the limb was laying in the water, and it dealt me fits the whole time. It was right where I needed to set my boat to make a really good cast. And so I had to work around that tree the whole time. I really considered just trying to pull it down, but it hindered me a little bit. And but I caught the 5 pounder, and I knew whenever I caught that one, I said, man, I've really got a good bag. I felt like I probably had 16, 17 pounds at that time.
You had it won. You had it won right there and didn't know it.
I did. In hindsight, yes, I did. So, but that wasn't enough for a bass fisherman. You always got that in your mind. You're going, I need one more. I need one more. I got to have one more. And I continued. So I would just make passes. It was a 20-yard stretch where water was dumping off of a bluff. There was a bluff there, and it was dumping off into the lake. And where that bluff was dumping off into the lake, I could see on my active target. I panned with my active target, and probably I'd say 2 feet or so, 3 feet, it stuck out about like this, where it come down, that bluff comes straight down, and in about 8 foot of water, that shelf come out and then dropped off into about 25. And those fish would actually position on that shelf. It wasn't huge, but it was plenty big enough. It was just a dinner table for them. They would pull up and sit on that dinner table. And that's what I had pictured in my mind was whenever I would make that cast and I would parallel it down through there, I had a picture in my mind of a bass sitting there on a dinner table and that spinnerbait coming by, and he just couldn't stand it. I mean, they just ate it up. So I would make a pass and turn around and give it about 15 or 20 minutes and come back, and I would catch another one. I'd make a pass, give it 15 minutes, come back, catch another one. And finally, after, I guess I caught the 5 pounder about 145, and at 3:30, I had one fish with a cull tag on it. And wherever I pulled it out, I caught one, and I was going to see if I could cull it. And it was a 3.5, 3 3/4 pounder. And I said, dude, just go back.
Yeah.
If somebody beats you today, they deserve it. I mean, just give it to them if they beat you today. And I'm glad I did, because I came out on that river, and man, the logs and the brush had moved in, and I was really worried about making it back. And I kind of made my way, and it ended up being a safe lane. But man, whenever I first came out to that river and I looked up and down the river, I thought, man, this, this is bad. And I'm glad I gave myself plenty of time to get back. I wouldn't have wanted to be, running hard trying to get through that treacherous lake, because it was bad in some places.
Man, that was we saw that, and of course that's why some of the days were canceled. But GDP, you were talking. We saw you hold up that spinnerbait that you were using, and GDP, you were talking about it. You've had success with that bait.
Just recently too on Chickamauga.
Is that right?
Same scenario we had. Actually, the same storm.
No kidding.
It was it was the same storm that came through. Them guys came through where I was too last week. And I did the same thing. I went to almost the same exact spinnerbait, different company, same colors, and I smoked them.
Wow.
Yep.
So let me ask somebody. I've really been, this is probably my first experience with this particular Booyah, covert spinnerbait, and I was very, very, very impressed with how this spinnerbait will not roll at all. I mean, you could just about burn it and it would not roll. And I noticed that this particular spinnerbait I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's got this lip on the head. And I've never seen the head of a spinnerbait like this before. And I know Jason Christie worked on this, but that intrigued me very, very, very much, because I would really like to ask him if that has to be part of this spinnerbait, and what makes it so good is that indention in that head has got to be something with some drag,
like a keel,
to keep that spinnerbait in a perfectly straight line. And it's got to be something about that. And I would be very curious to ask him, if that has a major purpose or not. And he may not tell me, but
Taylor,
I would like to ask.
You might be in luck. There's a fake Jason Christie that shows up on our YouTube feed almost every show. So if he shows up, I guarantee he'll answer your questions.
So,
I'll let you know.
Hey, I think there's got to be something to that, Taylor. It acts like a rudder or a sail or something.
Yeah.
Jason definitely created so many. I mean, Booyah let him create so many different combinations so that he could just have a spinnerbait of everything. Those are those same exact ones he's using, and it's definitely a great bait. But what I got to ask you, because my gears are turning, and I've got Pete and Greg. I mean, I've got some serious current experts at my hand here. I've got you, who has dealt with this scenario that we were dealt with. And I dealt with it as best as I could, but I was avoiding current all week because I thought it was cold. I figured get just out of the current. And now we all couldn't buy bites, right? It was a brutal practice. Like you're talking about 4 bites. I had maybe 2 to 3 bites a day, but I didn't catch my first keeper until the last practice day. But I caught them. Now mine were smallmouth in a run in a warmer creek, cleaner water, that green water or whatever. But the 2 parallels I'm making where I finally caught fish was current and tight parallel, as tight as you can to the wall. And they were on like an 8 to 10 foot shelf, and I had a couple clusters that it seemed like they came on. I really would have loved to unpack that. But guys, answer me this. What's too cold? Like, when do you avoid the current? Because I'm fishing wintertime. I've always been taught, run away from the current. Taylor ran to it, found it, and slaughtered them. And I lucked into it, right? And smallmouth kind of made more sense, but it just seemed like a ton of rain came, and the fish are now current related. Like,
got to rethink it.
Has nothing to do with the cold. I mean, my mind is blown right now.
If you go back and literally watch the seminar I did last year, this is exactly what I talked about. How your percentages, even in cold water, go way up because them fish have to get out of the current.
Pete, we got to rethink it. And you know what I'm talking about.
Well, what are you talking about, Riz?
We got to rethink it.
What good?
Cold,
expand.
Flowing, muddy
I
water.
I already know where you're going.
Cold, flowing, muddy water.
Where's that coming
smallmouth.
at? Yeah. Okay.
We got to rethink it. They're your words, not mine.
Yeah. Well, That's right. You're reminding me.
We gotta rethink it.
Smallmouth is a different creature,
is.
right? You're dealing with largemouth here because the smallies, man. Oh my gosh, they'll keep going in it. But in your instance, Taylor, the water temperature was not the coldest in the lake.
Correct.
So you had relatively warm current you were dealing with. Is that right?
And cleaner water.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say if I would have went in there on Thursday when our tournament was canceled, I don't know that I would have caught anything because it would have been flowing muddy water. And I don't know those fish were probably would have still been there, but I don't know that they would have been as active as they were. I don't think that they leave, but I don't know that they would have been as active. So my water was clearing. I mean, I was throwing double silver blades. I even swapped spinnerbaits whenever I got there because I felt like that the covert was just too much.
Yeah.
And then just like you were saying, where y'all were saying, those fish were tucked nose up to the rock in the least amount of current they could possibly find.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. They had no choice. There was no choice for them to be anywhere else except for that exact cast. And I could make that exact cast. So a lot of times during the summer, especially behind the dams on the Coosa River, you fish the seam. So where it makes a seam where the two currents cross each other. This was not the case. Most of them were in that slack water area. And that's because they had to be there. There was no other choice. They didn't want to be out there in that current, but they could also just kind of poke their nose up to that seam, and whatever was coming down through there, they could just feed up on it whenever they wanted, however they wanted.
So that's
the same thing.
That's why they were really stacked up then.
Because
you caught
they would reload. I mean, I think I caught 4-on-4 cast at one time, and then I kind of went past it and drifted back and caught another one. So I mean, there was definitely schools of fish in this little area, but that's not where I caught the big ones. That's where I caught keepers. I caught 2-pounders there. I did catch 1 3-pounder, and it was in slack water. There was a turn that it made a sharp turn, and that fish was actually sitting on the slack water side of that turn, up on a boulder. He was nowhere near the current whatsoever. And that was the biggest one that I caught up there. Now, the bigger fish, I don't know that I would say it was current. I mean, yes, there was some movement of the water because there was a giant waterfall falling off, but they weren't sitting like nose up in the giant waterfall falling off. They were adjacent to that. They were kind of to the side or, in those areas where there was a little bit of fresh water coming in, but they weren't having to work. They weren't having to work to sit there in that current, but there was enough current to keep things moving around that they could feed easily. I've got a really good video. If people, and I can share it with you guys for y'all to share as well if you would like, but follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'm going to post that video here very soon, and you can see the falls. I've got both, the river section that I was fishing where the current was coming down, and then the falls where the fall was actually falling off. And you can learn a lot from watching those fish catch videos like that.
Awesome. We can't wait to see it. And the water was clearing. I talk about this all the time. Like if the water is clearing, those fish become active. And the one other tip that's interesting that we're talking about this is down at the St. John's where you had a great tournament. Terry Scroggins is notorious for running the river down there. Who's the other local?
Cliff Prince.
Cliff Prince.
Yes.
And Cliff had a great quote. The current on the St. John's offsets a lot of the cold fronts that affect those Florida strain largemouth, which is why he chooses to fish in the current in the cold front situations.
Makes sense.
Down there, because that current, just like you're saying, Taylor, it will position the fish where you can find them, and it offsets that dropping water. They're still going to react. Interesting. Really, really interesting stuff talking about current.
Yeah.
But I want to throw it over to you, Riz. I know you said you had a couple questions, and I got a few more, but I don't want to hog it. I want to throw it to you. What are our guys asking?
That's right. We got great interaction tonight on the message board. The Bass U fam is fired up. The first question I'm going to go with is going to be from Ryan Freeman. Ryan, you're going to win yourself a $25 Gills Gear gift card for this question. And Ryan Freeman wants to know, Taylor, what are your key indicators for blade color, and why do you think larger Colorado blades are so dominant on Lake Cumberland?
I don't know about Lake Cumberland in general, but as far as that goes, the size, I think it's the dingy water, the colored water. Those fish are typically used to clean, clear water, and whenever it gets dirty, they feed on sight. Probably 90% of their life, 80% of their life, they feed on sight. So when they lose that visibility, their ability to feed is inhibited because they can't see as well. Well, the thump of that blade, the thump of that big blade is then their ability to feed, their ability to find that bait and react to whatever's coming by. So I think that's why the big blade plays that time of year. It also, they catch them at night. Again, if you're out there night fishing, it's dark. Those fish feed by sight. Well, they don't have that ability to see as well, so they go off of that feel. As far as color of blade goes, I don't know. I didn't experiment that much this past week with different colors. This is the go-to for dirty water. I mean, if you're going to fish dirty water, a gold with the orange kicker, that's just been the staple for years and years and years. I don't know that it mattered color where I was at. I think those fish were set up. They were feeding. If you were throwing the right bait, I don't know that the color really mattered that much. I tried throwing a jig there, and I never got bit. They bit the spinnerbait, though.
Taylor, what you're saying is it's all about that thump. GDP?
That's correct.
Thump.
Right? It's that thump. That's what gets us, right? Kel's got that thump. Heather's got that thump.
She has a thumper, yes.
It's about that thump.
I would say, so quick
Are
question.
we talking about blades?
Yeah,
No,
here, I am. He's
Okay.
not.
This
So
is talking about nature, bro.
No, I got a question for
It's
you.
about
So
nature.
what was your actual visibility where you were getting them on that spinnerbait?
Thump.
I would say it was, so the way that this place set up, the clean water was falling off of that bluff, right in the edge of the water. And the water clarity was different within a foot of the bank than it was a foot off of the bank.
Okay.
So within a foot of the bank, I would say it was probably 4 to 5 inches. Off of the bank, it was probably 1 to 2.
Okay. That's pretty dirty.
And I think that
is.
might be a reason those fish were right up against that thing.
That's probably part of it,
that was the cleanest, warmest water in the whole. I honestly think that was the cleanest, warmest water in the whole lake.
Yeah.
And
That
I'm
says it
very
right
curious
there.
to know. I did later on, a couple of days later, it crossed my mind. I would really like to go back and walk up into the woods, and I really wonder if that water that was coming out from under the ground.
Huh.
And that's what made that water warmer. I don't know for
that's
sure.
sneaky, yeah.
It's just a thought that went through my mind, and I wonder if there's a local there that may know, where I was at or whatever, that could tell us that, or I don't know. I may drive back up there and try and find out myself, but it's very interesting to me.
Yeah, maybe a spring-fed creek of some sort. And that's, you said a mouthful right there. In those treacherous conditions, you want to find the cleanest, warmest water, and you had to get right up on the bank to find it. That was man, that's fantastic. And we have another guy on the show with us tonight, Alex Nair, working with Bass U. I didn't introduce you at the open of the show. I didn't know if you were with us tonight. I'm glad you are. I'm psyched you're going to be at the Classic with us, buddy. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, Pete. How are you? I'm excited to be here for BU Live tonight. Definitely hearing from Taylor. Current fishing is always something that's interested me a lot. And yeah, excited for the rest of the show tonight and to see you guys tomorrow at the Classic.
I can't believe it. We're going to get to see you face to face for the first time. That'll be a lot of fun. And I know you're manning a lot of the social media and stuff over there. You got any questions for Taylor?
Yeah, I had a good one come in for Taylor from Will H, and he was wanting to know, did you change spinner baits throughout the day or run the same one? You know, how many bites can you get out of one spinner bait before it sort of becomes one you need to throw in the bottom of the boat and let the squirrels eat?
So that's a really good question. And I've learned a really hard lesson over the years. Buy yourself a very, very good hook sharpener. If you'll buy yourself a good hook sharpener, it doesn't matter if you set the hook into a log or a rock or anything. You can just about repair that point on that hook with a really good hook sharpener. And I fished the same one all day. I did break that one off first thing in the morning, and then I stuck with this one all day long. But occasionally, you know, I would say every hour or so, hour and a half, I would sit down and I'd pull out my hook sharpener, and it don't take much, just one or two little licks on it. And that's it. It's good to go again.
You weren't did it get bent open? I mean, you're catching giants. Like, that's my big concern. Like with a big smallmouth, he'll straighten a spinnerbait. He'll make that wire in a straight line, and you can you can bend it back once, maybe twice, and then you risk breaking that spinnerbait. But was it because it was so cold and lethargic they weren't doing that to your spinnerbait?
Yeah, I think they had just pulled up and they were still cold. And I mean, whenever I would set the hook on them, I mean, they would dog a little and, you know, pull some, but they weren't doing that crazy, wild jumping, flipping, flopping. They pretty much come down the side of the boat and I would play them out for just a minute and then reach down and grab them. It wasn't, you know, the crazy summertime stuff where they're thrashing around and just mangling your stuff up.
That was your week, man.
Yeah.
No question.
And to add emphasis to anything, I'll let you know that the same blade combination and cut skirt combination, almost identical spinnerbait, was thrown in my boat 3 to 4 times as many casts as the crankbait that I caught my smallmouth on. It wasn't just the magic bait. The dude absolutely figured it out on the fly. We hadn't seen I don't know if we said this. We hadn't seen the lake in 3 days. We had day off, and then days 1 and 2 got canceled.
Oh,
so
yeah,
the fact that Taylor went out there and hunted them down, you know, was by far the best move I've ever seen in any tournament. Any one-day tournament I've ever been a part of, any BFL, anything like that. So really props again for you to be able to figure out the juice stretch within the whole stretch, man.
I mean, it helps whenever you get a couple of bites, you know. Wherever you get a bite.
You said a mouthful.
Yeah.
You know, it's in a miserable tournament like that, it's impossible to get bites, so you get no data feedback.
That's right.
And you were getting the bites.
As G-Man says, a man with confidence will beat you, and 1 bite turns to 2 bites, turns to 3 bites, and you're rolling. You get the confidence going, and it's like lights out, man. Forget about it.
Taylor be rolling.
That's right.
I got that first bite, or I got the first bite that I broke off, and then I got the second bite, which was a 3-pounder, and that told me that I needed to go nowhere else in the entire lake. You know, I knew I had 52 to 53 degree water, and wherever I got those 2 bites pretty close together, that told me, you know, there is no sense in leaving this creek whatsoever today. I put my electronics on standby, and I was not going anywhere. And I really think that it helps me a little bit in a way because, like we said earlier, there was, 6 or 7 out of the top 10 that were fishing the same creek. Well, they were further towards the mouth of the creek, and they were also getting bites. So what that kept them doing was that kept them in that area down there and allowed me to exploit and have more area to myself by myself. Now, there was 1 or 2 guys that I think there was 2 other competitors that were pretty close to where I was at. And I talked to one of them. I think he said he had 1 keeper and I don't know. I didn't get to talk to the other one. I just kind of seen him idle by as I was fishing, but you know, it really helped me. I had the freedom to move wherever I wanted and do whatever I wanted. Which that Lake Cumberland, the way that it sets up is so big, you can usually find a place to do that yourself on that particular lake.
Yeah, getting one bite after the practice that you guys had where it was impossible to get bites. So the guys that you were fishing around that was keeping them planted right where they were at. Yeah. They were having the same mindset as you, only they weren't sitting on the mother lode.
Yep.
You know?
That's right. That's right.
Did anybody come back? Did anybody say, wait a minute, he's been back there a pretty long time. I better go check it out.
No, I can't believe they didn't. I was expecting. I was like, man, somebody's gonna come around the corner and see me dragging one of these dudes in, you know, and be like, hey, let me get over there, you know. But they never did. Yeah. So yeah,
that's what Kimmel would have been right in on you.
Yeah, they told me, I said, well, we first.
Yeah,
they said we knew that you went back there, so we just decided we'd leave you alone. I said, well, I appreciate it.
Wow.
Appreciate you.
23 pounds. That's stellar. And what a great start to the season, man. That's got and before we go down the road, what the next tournament looks like for you, because I know you got to battle Kimmel on his home body of water, I think, on the next one. We got more questions. Let me throw it over to Riz.
Yeah, I got one more question I want to sneak in here for you, Taylor. And Mike P. is going to be the next question. He's going to get another $25 Gills Gear gift card for this question. And Mike P. wants to know, what hook sharpener is it that you use? Because you're a guy that obviously utilizes that tool. There's several different ones out there, and you said get a good one. So which one is the good one?
It's a Rapala. It's a Rapala, and it's got 3 different little ridges in it. So it's got it's got a deep ridge in it, then like a medium, and then a fine. So if you really mangle your hook up, you can use the deep ridge to, you know, really get it in there, filed up where you need it, and then you can just fine tune as you go across. I'm pretty sure it's a Rapala is what it is. It's a little gray one. I think you can get them at Walmart, and it's about 1 inch wide and probably 3 inches tall. And it's got the 3 grooves in it, so you can really, if you really mangle one up, you can just about work anything back into a good hook that you can use.
Man,
very crucial for chatterbaits.
That's
you
awesome.
Can ruin a $30 chatterbait or $25 chatterbait, whatever they cost now, you know, quickly with a bent hook. But that saved me a lot of money.
And guess what, guys? If you're a Bass U TV member, you can get that with your Rapala VIP discount in the member benefits page found in your My Account tab on the website.
Yep,
that's right.
So, all the more reason.
Nah, I never brought it up. Yeah, so another question for you. We saw on the back of the spinnerbait you had a trailer on there. What trailer are you throwing on there?
Yeah, that's a Zoom straight tail trailer. Just regular straight tail.
Yeah.
The spinnerbait one.
I did not want much action. The water's still cold, and whenever the water's cold, you don't want much action. Just something very subtle. Something, you know, if it was summertime, I might put something, you know, like curly tail grub or something like that on the back. But when the water's cold and dirty, I always go straight tail.
I like it. Bigger, bulkier too.
Awesome. Alex, I want to throw it to you. We got another question for Taylor. You want to throw what? The spinnerbait?
Yep. Alex, while you're working on that, how old are you?
22.
Do you know how old the average age of the guys you're rooming with at the Classic are?
It's got to be somewhere in the mid-50s to 60s.
Mid-50s?
Or BC, 50
Come
BC
on, or AD. All right, we're gonna demote Alex on tomorrow morning.
Do we got to divide by pi on that, or
Alex? I was lobbying for you, bro. I was trying. Tried to get you in the cool house. Sorry, Pete.
Yeah. Well, we need some kind of mentor in the other house. You know,
that's what I'm there for, Pete. Come on, man.
I know. That's why we got you there. Yeah. We appreciate you, but I was going to throw it to you, Alex. You got questions over there for Taylor?
Yeah, we should do, Taylor. One came in a little earlier from Loner, and he wanted to know, do you think the blade or the skirt color is more important when you're throwing a spinnerbait?
I think skirt color is more important. You can change your skirt. I mean, that's a very hard question, but I would say skirt color definitely, because depending on light conditions, whether it's bright outside or, you know, a dark, gloomy day, I'm going to change my skirt more often than I am my blades. But typically, when you buy a spinnerbait, if you change, like if you're just buying one, when you change skirts, typically the blades are going to change along with that skirt. If you changed from a chartreuse and a white, it's typically going to have a gold blade and a silver, you know. And then if you go to more of a white or translucent type color, more of, you know, something that you're going to throw in clear water, you're going to go double silver blades, and those kind of work in parallel with each other.
Great question. Thanks, Alex. And what we didn't talk about was what kind of rod reel line you throwing on that spinnerbait?
This is funny. So, man, I don't know who said it, but they're like, man, you're a meat and potatoes kind of guy. And I'm like, yeah. So I was actually using the exact same setup that I was using at Grand Lake, skipping the jig under docks. 7.3 medium heavy, 20-pound line, Abu Garcia Revo SX with 7:1 to 1 ratio.
I like it.
Nice. Is that fluoro?
Yep, fluoro, 20-pound fluoro.
20 pounds.
7.3 medium heavy for spinnerbait.
Well, it's a 3/4 ounce.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why. So the War Eagle half ounce, I was throwing it on a 7.3 medium.
Okay.
Whenever I went up to the 3/4, and I did try 1 ounce a little bit, I went to the medium heavy.
I got you.
That's cool. You were even up in that current. Were you throwing the 3/4 and, you know, catching those smaller fish, or was that the smaller spinnerbait?
I went to the half. It was shallow. It was probably only 2 or 3 feet deep. You know, probably 4 feet at the most. And so that's whenever I swapped over to the half ounce and was keeping that spinnerbait up higher, just, you know, rolling into those eddies and the current breaks.
Gotcha.
I mean, you don't need a noodle with a spinnerbait. Like if you understand your rod reel line combo and you know how to let them get the bait through the bite and not jerk on them right away. Spinnerbait's got a big old hook in it. It's got a barb in it. Like
I feel attacked right now.
You don't need some noodle softo rod. Like I mean,
but tip is nice.
Yeah. You know what?
Tip.
He just said something. So like thinking about this now after what you just said. So the water was up 13 feet. Is that fair to say?
Mm-hmm.
So
what they said.
It rose 13 feet.
Okay.
It wasn't over full pool 13 feet. No.
Okay. So, but typically, where you're catching them bigger fish, if the water was down, let's say 10 feet, then fish would probably be positioned in that same spot. It sounds like.
You're saying they stayed right where they were at.
They just maybe went up higher on the same spot.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because the bigger fish came on that drop. That drop would be essentially where you're fishing at. The water wasn't high.
I got you.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. There were I think there was a couple of guys that mentioned that they kind of fished that same area during practice and never got bit, which me and JK talked before, I guess at the meeting, and both of us had mentioned we had seen some fish on our active target that were just sitting out. You know, they were in that 14, 15-foot range, just a little bit deeper and kind of suspended just off of the bank just a little bit. And I really feel like during practice, that's where those fish were. And then the conditions lined up and they just pulled up on that break right there. And I was able to, you know, connect with them.
Yep.
I got
Makes
you.
sense.
Well, before we let you go, Justin, do you want to give Taylor any tips on the upcoming Lake Hartwell tournament?
Yes, he does.
Not maybe.
He will be in the mix. Trust me. I know Taylor's fishing style. He's won. Here's the deal, guys. He won at 2 Highland reservoirs. He won at Grand Lake. He won at Cumberland. Hartwell has a lot of Highland reservoirs come. Those Highland guys do well at Hartwell. That's what I'm saying. Ozark guys come to all the BFL regionals or the All-American. They always do good at Hartwell. And Taylor is a Highland reservoir guy. He's going to do just fine fishing his style at Lake Hartwell. And that's what I love about Hartwell. A lot of different ways to catch them. A lot of different ways to win. A lot of different ways to win.
So what I heard was mumbo jumbo. I'm not helping you, Taylor. Good luck.
That was very professional of you, JK. Very, very, very professional.
That was good.
Hey, with
Well done,
JK
buddy.
saying that, this is really neat. So I grew up fishing the Coosa River and fishing rivers, and I hated reservoirs. I absolutely despised them. And me relocating to East Tennessee from Middle Alabama made me fish Highland reservoirs, and I've done it for probably 6 years now, and now I love them. But now I'm versatile, where I've still got that river background, but now I've kind of figured out the Highland reservoir deal, and I contributed that 100% to me moving to East Tennessee.
Well, hey, you know, that was an amazing adjustment, amazing win to win a one-day event by that much, almost twice as much as the second place guys. Just phenomenal. Congratulations on that win, and best of luck at the next one. And thanks so much for hanging out with us tonight, Taylor.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. Anytime. It's fun.
Absolutely. Well, we'll hopefully get you back on the show here again. Good luck at the next one, guys. We're going to take a quick break. And we're going to be back with Ronnie Moore. We're going to be talking about Lake Hartwell. Taylor, you might want to stay in the waiting room on this one. And
I'm gonna be secretly watching right over here.
A lot of good stuff's going to go down. We're going to be talking stats. We're going to be picking our winners and guessing at weights and stuff. The Bassmaster Classic is this week. Not next week, it's this week. It's happening, and Ronnie Moore is going to be with us here in just a few minutes after this commercial break.
Moment on the water not spent fishing is a moment wasted. That's why Minn Kota and Humminbird have joined forces to bring you the One Boat Network. Products that communicate and integrate to help you take full command of your boat. Born from our commitment to making the most advanced fishing gear even better by making it work together. The One Boat Network will help you find, get to, stay on, and catch more fish. When One Boat Network products talk to each other, they can navigate your boat automatically. They can give you a crystal clear view of what's below with no messy wires. And they can let you lower, raise, and change shallow water anchor modes from anywhere on the boat. But that's just the beginning. We're never done innovating, integrating, and making your boat simpler and easier to control. All so you can make every second on the water count.
Tackle Warehouse is proud to sponsor the FLW Pro Circuit and is the official tackle retailer of FLW, providing proven bass fishing gear as well as the newest and hottest tackle. Our friendly and knowledgeable customer service staff can help you every step of the way. And we offer free ground shipping on orders over $50. Tackle Warehouse. Everything for the bass angler at the lowest prices. Guaranteed.
I have to be constantly on the lookout for new techniques to stay on the top of my game.
Giant.
Some have been more successful than others.
Giant.
The finesse fingernail. Happens every time. The chain gang.
Broke it off.
The crow's nest.
Never let go.
And don't even get me started on tackle management, especially trying to stop rust and corrosion. Peanut butter.
Not good.
Motor oil. Gotta keep the rust off all these baits. WD-40. Gotta keep the rust off. Silica, toothpicks, Q-tips, the list goes on and on. I'm hard on tackle, I fish fast, I need my tackle organized and protected. I can't be worrying about losing baits to rust. And when it comes to tackle management, there's only one solution. Flambeau Tackle Storage Systems with Z-Rust technology. The original anti-rust tackle box. Uncompromised clarity. Renowned durability. The infused anti-rust option that is FDA safe and free of harmful chemicals. The organization options are endless, but there's only one. One box, one anti-corrosion technology, one family-owned, American-made brand, Flambeau Z-Rust Tackle Solutions. Preserve, perform, repeat.
Pete, we're live.
I sense that. Well,
Scrambling back here. Headphones are flying. Microphones are getting knocked over.
That one was abrupt.
Oh crap!
It was
the
perfect.
The commercial's over. Good to have you guys back.
Welcome to the live show, Ron.
Bass University Live. Really excited. We've got a great guest, a longtime guest, friend of ours. And gotta say, been amazing on Bassmaster Live. Been watching and consuming a lot of that. The great Ronnie Moore. Good to have you with us, buddy.
Ronnie.
The great. I mean, that's. I mean, I'm not that esteemed yet, Pete. Come on, I'm 28 and I still don't have my stuff together, but we make it look like it, you know.
I know you wear the khakis just like that guy on NBC that analyzes the Super Bowl. You know that guy?
Got it together.
That's you. You're better than him. It's amazing.
Hey, I admire Dan Orlovsky. He's got his own screen that he breaks down the NFL plays every single day on ESPN, and I always strive to be that energetic and engaging and teaching at the monitor. So there's some other people who do it. He did say on a podcast that he's the only one who knocks it out, and he just hasn't watched Bass Live, but one day he will.
Hey, you're in the running in my book, man, and I appreciate you hanging out with us tonight.
For sure, man. No, it's classic week. So what it is you basically get 3 hours of sleep. If you dedicate and decide this is my plan, I'm going to get 3 hours, that's what you get. Otherwise, you get less than that. So I'm excited to join y'all and talk about just the coolest tournament in the sport. I mean, just something that I'll never get to experience as a participant, most likely, but if I get to experience it in the form and fashion that I do now and as I did as a fan, I think I could live a happy life. So it's really remarkable.
Well, you make watching it better. I'll give you that, and it's fun. The live show is you how we consume and watch the sport of tournament fishing.
King of fantasy.
Yeah, and of course, you are and
self-proclaimed.
And I'll be honest. I don't play fantasy. I don't know why.
Oh, come on,
it's
Pete.
not my thing. But I love your assessment of the anglers. I love watching that. You can dive in. Me and Kimmel do it all the time. You are very, very talented and do a great job at understanding and knowing each angler's strengths and weaknesses. It's pretty awesome.
Which it bites me, Pete. It honestly does. Studying these guys and knowing all of these guys and how good these anglers have gotten and well-versed in so many things, I'm just most of the time assuming that this guy is going to try to establish this pattern or that pattern. And it's very difficult to pinpoint it. And oftentimes I miss, and I'm more shocked rather than disappointed because I'm like, wow, that guy didn't catch them. Like, I think Cliff Prince has been the biggest shock this season at the St. John's. It was like, that's the most guaranteed thing ever. I can't break it down any better than his results have shown. And then he drops a bomb in his expectations, a 60-something place finish at the St. John's. So, I mean, these guys are so good that it's hard. The more you know, that's what when I was a fan, I was like 95 to 99 percentile every year, like easy peasy. I know this is great. As soon as I met these guys and I realized how well-versed they are in so many things, I'm in like the 70s and 80s. Like it's so hard to pick them because I know too much about them almost. So,
Ron, throw a Senko.
Hey, if it's a title place and Pete Gluszek's on the Elite Series, I'm gonna pick him
just
for
saying.
a black Senko. All
Yes, knowing too much can hurt you. Just throw a Senko.
Yep, and we know that. And Cliff Prince is not going to send you a Christmas present this year.
No card.
Hey, I love Cliff, and it's a good thing. It's a good thing when you do have an underperforming event that most, if not the entire world of bass fishing, is shocked. Not like, oh, I didn't expect him to do well. Like we're shocked that he didn't do well. So there's been some of those guys that are like that. I was shocked at Scott Martin day one at the Harris Chain, even with 17 pounds, how tough it was for him. Like it was the worst day of 17 pounds I've ever seen in my life on live. And he almost had a shot to win it. It was crazy.
You're reminding me of that, a colossal, oh my God, how did he recover from that? And He did. He kept going. I mean, he lost giant after giant after giant live, and right in his hands. One of the fish he lost. That to me was one of the best mental toughness efforts, performances I've ever seen.
It was, and then he catches one late in the day when live ends because he was the last flight that day one at the Harris Chain, so he was late flight, last person to come back through the Apopka lock and dam there, and literally catches like a 4-pounder last 20 minutes of his fishing day. And we're like, wow, he went from 14 pounds and what a disappointment to he's in the top 20 with 17 3/4. Like, oh, what an incredible save, and then adjustments along the way. And I had to razz him this week about it. I was like, man, that is the worst 17-pound day I've ever seen in my life. And that's a compliment and like an evaluation, but is very, very intriguing. I love this sport because of that. You can pick the right guys in fantasy. You can project the right guys. There are so many anglers. We talked about it last night. We had a deal with the Bass chaplain at one of the local churches in Greenville, and we were talking about that every angler loses key caliber fish. So you can't ever say, well, if I would have landed these 2 fish, I'm going to win the event. Because the guy who finished 3rd and you finished 5th, he lost just as many.
Oh yeah, everybody.
Or and so that's the incredible thing about the sport is the chance to hero and zero is there every day, and you're not alone in your struggles landing fish or locking in a bite. So it's very, very cool. I love it.
I know. And if the cameras weren't with him, I would just be saying, Scott, quit your whining. Everybody loses fish. But that was a colossal, crazy, day that is rarely seen. But a great comeback, and he might have won that tournament. I don't know, Buddy would have been hard to contend with on the last day.
Yeah. And, the funny thing is we're talking about critiquing, and, Ronnie does it for a living, and you and I, Pete, do it all the time. So it's easy to be like, oh, if he would have just done this.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, Pete. If he would have just taken that stupid damn bandito bug off of his text, the Senko on there, he would have smashed 30, dude.
Oh,
Scott, they didn't want action, man. They didn't want action.
Scott,
especially if it was a black Senko.
Scott, if you ever want to know if you're in that situation again, give me and JK a call. We had all the answers for you that day. We had every problem solved. Armchair quarterbacking you for sure, But no, it's great. It's great watching live. It's great watching you. We got the Classic coming. It's full of excitement. Ronnie, I'm interested in to hear your take on maybe who you think is going to do well, because we got stable, strong conditions coming to Lake Hartwell for a Classic. This could be good.
It really could be. And before I do get into that, I wanted to show the Classic pin this year. It's always something that people they love it somewhere or another if the camera will focus on it. But it is the 52nd Classic, and the trophy is the pin this year.
Hold that up, Ron. Right. Keep it going. We got you on full screen now.
Yeah, we're slow getting to you. There you go.
Cool.
I'm busy.
Hey now.
So there we go. But
awesome.
what an awesome Classic, yeah. and we've been to so. I'm not just a bass defender, a Bassmaster defender on social media. Even if y'all pay attention, y'all probably see my comments and retorts to people. But I will defend bass at times. And when everyone said Lake Hartwell, this is going to be such a boring Classic. When we announced it, Lake Hartwell, the 4th time in 15 years, they go there too many times. We just had an elite there in 2019, and time of the year, blah blah blah. It's spotted bass. It's not big bass. Every year we come to Hartwell, it's different. And every year we come to Hartwell, something new shows up. And this year is going to be exactly the same. It's going to be different. That's the only thing that's the same at Lake Hartwell is every year it's different. And this year, I texted some buddies who do well in local tournaments around here. Shout out to Hunter and Steven. And Justin, you probably know them just from fishing around there. But those guys, they're some of my close buddies, and they live on that North Carolina, South Carolina border. I said, hey, I don't even need to know where they're biting. I don't even need to know anything. Just tell me the water temperature. And when they said a week and a half ago, yeah, there's water in the 55 range, it blew my mind. I thought it would be, 48, 49 degrees,
wow.
With the winter that Little Rock has had. Mm-hmm. You had a lot of snow in other parts that maybe funneled down the Savannah River at a certain point or contribute to it. I thought it was going to be a lot cooler water. I thought it was going to be a winter transitioning to pre-spawn event, but it has turned into a pre-spawn transitioning into a bank beater's delight. And even and Championship Sunday, we could see a clutch fish maybe being sight fished, not with forward facing sonar, but maybe with our own 2 eyes on Bassmaster Live to maybe win the Classic. What an awesome thing. And if you think about it, you go back through the years, we had Texas last year in the summer, Gunnersville with, all the crazy wind and cold temperatures there. And then obviously 2019 Knoxville, it was 6 feet low. It floods up in the streets, and then they suck it down during the tournament. It ends up being high and low. We've got a lot of crazy conditions the last few years, but it'll be once again different this year. And so I'm really looking forward to Hartwell. I get to go out tomorrow, final day, the official day of practice. I'm going to ride around with a guy. You might know him. His name is Jason Christie. I'll be riding with him tomorrow as his observer. We've got Davey Height and Robbie Ford will be out there as well, riding with Davey will be with Brandon Cobb, and Robbie will be with Hank Cherry. He always likes to go with the defending champ. And so he's going with Hank seemingly every year now, because Hank doesn't lose classics. He only wins classics. So it'll be very, very interesting. We got to do our top 10 interviews for who's going to be on live on day one. And we got to really, that interview room, I mean, when I got introduced to that green room setting after each day of weigh-in with Zona and Tommy and Davey, and we're in that room, I'm the guard of the door. I lean against the door so no one can walk in mid-interview. Those are some special moments. Those are some cool moments where we get to ask them really, really hard questions. The questions we ask on bonus coverage on live, they're just softballs. They're just fishing questions. We get to ask life questions. We get to ask the struggles, the adversity. So it's going to be very cool with the 10 that we have on day one with Lake Hartwell and the conditions. And man, it's the Bassmaster Classic. I don't think there's ever going to be a boring one, because we know what's at stake, and someone's life and anyone in that arena that's watching, their lives will change, because I know mine was attending it, early on in my life.
Absolutely. And we look forward to a classic on the Delaware River sometime soon.
Yeah. Let's make that happen. Or an open. Ron, if you can pull some strings on that, maybe have an open out there in like early July, that would be perfect.
Well, I heard through the rumor mill that we may just do the Delaware River, but it would need to be the Bassmaster Classic presented by the Ike Foundation or something, or Bass University. If we're going to make the Delaware River is going to do that, it would have to be, you'd have to get us there,
We will partner up and guarantee we will provide hot dogs for all the competitors.
He didn't say hot dogs. He said stroke that check, son.
Hot dogs and Founders beer.
Hot dogs and big checks.
We can do that. We can do we can do those two
fat
things.
stacks, homie.
Yeah,
Ron, we can work this out.
We could have a throwback title classic, in the future. Who knows? I know that expanding the classic venues is always on everyone's minds. So there are some certain cities. And the one big thing I'll say, the one big thing I'll say is that we go to some of these hosts, we go to some of these lakes, because they're just great fishing communities. They love bass fishing, and they want us there. And they don't just want us there for the boat ramp space. They want to show out and bring the whole community. They want Greenville, partners with Anderson, and every exit along the way want us there. You see it in Florida every year with the signs that people have out on their docks for the anglers. Communities like that often get bass tournaments because they want bass tournaments. They may not want 5K runs, 3K runs. They want bass fishing. And so people might get sour to some similar venues, but it's very good to have that core audience that loves bass fishing. And so we'll mix in definitely some new places and some uncharted places. But at the end of the day, Bassmaster has been around for 52 years. Like literally, we've been to there are very few places that we haven't been to. So that's my little, not tangent, but just a clue in on it. I well up with pride sometimes looking at some of these destinations that want us year in and year out, because I mean, some of those are bass fishing capitals. And so it's very cool to see the Neely Henrys jump in there for an event when we've never had an elite there. And we go to Oahu's and even Pickwick. It's been a while since we were there, and we do that. So places like Hartwell always have a place in our heart. And so I'm very excited.
It's a fun city, man.
Yeah.
It's
and it
cool.
makes a difference that Bassmaster has gone to some of these venues several times now. And I'm going to speak on this from personal experience. We were down there with you guys at the Elite Series event, Ron, and we set up and we activated, and we had a great event, Pete. I mean, we were pleasantly surprised with the crowds, and I have family in that part of Florida, in Jacksonville, and then below that part down in the Ocala National Forest area. And to see how much Palatka had changed from the times that I would go through there when I was in my, young school years, like, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, going through Palatka, it was like the kind of like almost, don't stop at the stop signs, keep your windows rolled up type of area. And to see what it has become in that waterfront area, to see how much it's developed, the nice restaurants, that really does show that bass fishing has an impact, and it has a real effect on the communities, the money that can come into an area through bass fishing, and it's awesome to see that. And it's just, kudos to you guys, Ron, that you guys are helping keep the ball rolling forward for the sport of fishing, because it's what we all love.
Yeah, it's one of those deals where, I grew up basically just kind of triangulate yourself around a Harris Chain and St. Johns River from Leesburg to Palatka. Like, that's my mom's stomping area. That's my where I grew up. Those are some of the first lakes that I ever went on with my dad. And I've got some of the long-haired, blonde, 1-year-old, 2-year-old photos of me in a boat, the old Black Maxes and everything. Like, literally, that was my lifestyle. And so to see some of those older areas, you pull up to the stop, like you said, the stop signs that for years, and it's just different. It's very cool. I know the Harris Chain showed up big as well. Palatka always does. And that's, hey, everybody, whether it's a relationship with your significant other, everybody loves to be loved. And so it's very cool that our anglers have that affinity. I will say, and Greg can attest to this probably as well, if the fishing's tough, that's on y'all to figure out how to catch them. And if it's 40 pounds.
Ron,
huh?
We're in New Jersey. It's use guys.
Use guys.
That's like the fourth time, Ron.
Sorry.
It's use guys.
But if the fishing's tough, that's on you guys to figure out. But
thank you.
If the community loves you, it makes the whole week better. If you catch 7 pounds and think you didn't catch anything, and you come in and you're 25th, it makes it a lot better when there's 2,000 people on a Thursday weigh-in. Like, you're a rock star. And the only other place that you really get that rock star feel, other than those old school not classic, but like old school venues for the Elite Series that always show up, those places always make you feel like a rock star. But this event, the Bassmaster Classic, is the only other event in the sport that rock stardom even begins to come out in our sport. And I get chills thinking about, I've walked through the curtain. I haven't even been in a boat with fishing the live well, but I've walked through the curtain at the Bassmaster Classic, just behind the scenes. And I'm like, man, this is amazing. This is so cool. And so I know Greg's experienced that, and I know a lot of other people watching would love to experience it. And it's so Hartwell's a great place to do it on. And I know Neil Paul has worked his butt off to make this area really special. And then guys like Eric Lopez they've taken on Eric Lopez, Ben Ashby, Jesse Dolan, all of the tournament crew that put on the convention center and the planning and the logistics. When you see the turnouts you do at our Bassmaster events, it makes those long days of tireless phone calls that you don't think are going anywhere, it makes them worth it. So I just wanted, it's Classic Week, and you have to bring all that into perspective before you talk about bass fishing, because that's what the anglers are dealing with. They're dealing with the media and all of the fans, and they're getting pulled in so many ways, but they're good, positive ways. It's always to glorify and accentuate this sport, and to lift it up. And then those 3 days, it's like, okay, I'm not going to bother you. It's time to catch bass. And those are approaching very quickly now.
Let's talk about that a little bit. But before we talk about how to catch bass and who our picks are going to be, I want to give Alex a heads up. I want a constant loop of Ronnie saying use guys.
Yes.
Use
guys.
Just for TikTok or something.
I want that more than you. And by the way,
I'll get on that.
The strangest thing is to me in this. There's a lot of strange things going on, but Pete's addiction to TikTok is right there at the top of my personal list. A lot of strange things in the world today.
They said the same thing when I signed up for Facebook like 10 years ago. You're still following me on Instagram, so you'll catch up. All right. You'll catch up.
Yeah.
But
no, I'm out, dude. I'm going the other way. I'm out there. I'm in the backyard digging worms and stuff.
Well,
hey,
I'm older than the Classic, believe it or not.
My dad side of the family is from Baltimore, so I'm not far from you guys' territory.
But
But
still
they
below the
were-
Mason-Dixon, Ron.
They were below the Mason-Dixon, so we are not. I do not have Yankee in my family. We are below the Mason-Dixon, but we are close. We're close.
Well, we won't hold it against you.
Nope.
Yeah.
We're not. Yeah, we're good.
Hey, Ronnie, let's dive in. Right, we got
We'll do it.
stable conditions. We got fish are going to bite. We think we got largemouth. JK tells us that the largemouth are exploding on Lake Hartwell like they've never been before. What do you see happening? Who's going to win this thing?
Man, I almost got rebuked at the church last night because I was listing some guys who could win it, and a kid walked up and I hadn't listed Brandon Cobb by the time he was walking up, and so he was like, "You're not going to mention Brandon Cobb because that's a given. Brandon Cobb is going to be one that's going to show up." But talking to him today, I will say the hardest thing for Brandon Cobb isn't catching bass on Lake Hartwell, because he's probably one of the best to do so, especially at the pro level. There's a lot of local sticks and whatnot that he would duke it out with. But for a guy who travels most of his year away from the state, he's very good at this lake. And it's kind of hard to have a home field advantage, but I feel like on blueback herring, even in the spring, this would be the equalizer. When they get close to the bed, it equalizes your ability to have a home field advantage. But at Hartwell, seemingly it's not. You have the Cobbs, you have the Jamie Rampies, you have the Patrick Walters, and these guys show out even during bed fishing events during the fall. They'll do it in the spring, in the winter, they still show up. So there's something to be said about that home field herring knowledge that takes it to another level, especially in the Classic. So I'm just going to go ahead and say that with Cobb. But the only thing that I'm worried about with Brandon Cobb, and I asked him about it today, is practicing knowing you're going to have 45 to 50 boats following you on day one. That is something that you can't duplicate anywhere else.
Right.
You leave the dock, it sounds exactly like an Elite Series takeoff. It sounds exactly like a club tournament takeoff. Maybe if they have a guy out there in the boat saying boat 21 Brandon Cobb and his partner running out there, it's the same type of vibe, except when he comes off pad in his first spot and turns around, he's going to think that wind was blowing because of how big the waves are coming in. And so it changes things. So that's my only thing. My only thing is if he finds something in a creek, we saw it with Christie navigating back out. It takes time. You can't run and gun. That first hour is very key. So if he starts out on the main lake, maybe he can run around a little bit more and bump around. But I will say that's a big impact. Then you got a couple of the guys, man. It's kind of like the old guard. Is a Brandon Polinick, is a Gerald Swindle, is a Greg Hackney, is a Jason Christie. Are they going to finally win a Classic? You know, I mean, I told Brandon today, I said, Brandon, you're old now, Polinick wise. I said, you're old. I said, this is your 11th Classic. You're now a veteran. Swindle, this is your 19th. You're the oldest tenured angler, you know, Classic appearance wise at the Classic. I said, you guys are no longer the whippersnappers, but now you're the ones who look at it and they're like, wow, I remember watching Gerald Swindle in a Classic, and now I'm fishing against him. That's what people say now. I remember Brandon Polinick's first Classic. Now I'm fishing against him. And so I told those guys that, but those are guys who are they've been there and done it and been close. And if they can make that right decision and that right adjustment, I could totally see those guys doing it. But man, I really think this could be a Hank Cherry Classic. It's hard. It's hard to pick against him.
3 in a row.
We didn't think 2 in a row was going to happen, and he did it. And so 3 in a row is very possible because I don't know how much spotted bass will play this week. Like I don't think, and Kimmel can back me up on this. It's more likely that 15 largemouth win the Classic than 15 spotted bass. But I don't know if it's going to be 10 largemouth and 5 spots, or an 8-7 split, or a 12-3 split. I don't know what it's going to be, but there will be someone who needs spotted bass and they will get right in that first hour, and then cull 3 of them. They cull 3 spotted bass out during the day with largemouth, and they end up weighing in 2-3 pound spotted bass, because that's very doable. 2-3.5 pound spotted bass, because those are healthy. But like Kimmel said, those largemouth guys, I mean, the largemouth have been healthier on Hartwell than I remember in recent history. And I'm not quite sure why. I don't know if it's a couple years post dog fennel. The water was low, grass grew up, bluegill had a good spawn and a hatch. When the water comes up, they get to grow. Bass out now have the largemouth now get to feed on that. compared to the spots that are always roaming for the bluebacks. But some of those guys definitely are going to be ones to think about. I don't necessarily know a dark horse yet. I'll say the darkest horse I know maybe in this fight is probably Joey Nania. I really think Joey Nania has what it takes to be able to rise to the occasion, at least going into the final day. I don't know how anyone's going to handle the final day pressures. But those guys, this could be a swindle classic. It really could be, with the adjusting and the fishing by the seat of your pants, making those adjustments. And I'm going to go fish a dock. Now I'm going to go fish a point. I'm going to go fish a ditch, those types of things. I'm going to go throw a buzz bait. Maybe we'll see a little bit of that, but with the dirty water, the clean water, the warming water temperatures, and like you said, pretty stable. I like the evenings being in that mid 40s and the highs being in the 65 to 70 range. That people would love the lows to not be so low, but we've taken the turn. It's in the winter in that pre-spawn, it's 30-degree lows and 45-degree highs. And now the lows are 45 and the highs have reached that summertime temperature, and it makes things happen quick. So it does remind me a little of 2018 where Jordan Lee all of a sudden forgets his ditch deal and just throws a wacky worm and catches 2 bigs in the final day and wins the classic,
Kimmel, he talked about doesn't know what the largemouth. Why are the largemouth prolific? What's happened, at the lake that's making them bigger and more prolific than they've been?
All right, so I guess I'll dive into it. Basically what happened, a lot of guys might think I'm crazy about this, but if you knew the other guys locally that would agree with me, this is what I'm confident has happened. The last 2 years, every tournament in really since 2019, because I think I won that regional in 19 and then All-American in 20, and 2021 was just like it. The lake was a spotted bass lake. You'd get a random largemouth. I mean, the lake was up high. Everybody's going to think, oh, the water's high. Let's go get largemouth. Well, what happened? We had some really unseasonably warm late falls, winters. Like we didn't even have winters 19, 20. The fish, the largemouth swam away from the fiberglass bass boat fishermen. There are so many little tributaries and long winding creeks and rivers and everything. These fish swam away, and basically there wasn't any dog fennel to keep them on the main drags. That left in like 18, 19. And so when the combination of that just pushed all the largemouth away. And the reason I'm so confident that this happened is because the kayak fishermen would come in and they would obliterate them. Like one guy had like a 28-pound bag, and then every now and then, like a tournament showed up, like the Bassmaster Team Championship, where conditions would kind of draw those largemouth out of those areas, and somebody would bust like a crazy bag in the backs of one of those areas with those, but then the water would come back up and they just swim away again. Well, what happened this winter is the water was 2.5 feet low for a while, for a good long while. And then it brought kind of everything back. And so we've been catching them really November, December, January, like the largemouth just showed up, and it's like, oh my gosh, they're 2 years bigger because they haven't been pressured by all these fiberglass bass boat fishermen. They hadn't been around them. And now they're back, and there's no post-spawn, because the water actually has come back up to full pool here in the recent weeks. There's been no really conditions to really make them flee the playing field. And by playing field, I mean where a fiberglass bass boat can get to. Now, they're probably going to leave again post-spawn because Lake Hartwell, for whatever reason, has started to stay at what full pool is. And for the longest time, we didn't really have that. And there's not any dog fennel. It's not going to grow at full pool right now. I was kind of hoping it would stay low for a little bit. But just everything that I'm seeing and that a couple other guys are saying, they're seeing it too. Those, I mean, dude, 5 and 6 pound largemouth. There are more 5 and 6 pound largemouth in this lake than I have ever seen. I will say you will see a 20-pound bag of spots this year at the Classic. You will see that. It won't. I don't think that will be in the winners circle and his, but I do think somebody will do good on spots. I think there's just so many healthy spots. It's having a Lake Lanier effect on that lake. But somebody, I mean, like what Ronnie said, a Swindle Classic, a Hackney Classic, a guy who will go all in on largemouth and not play with that stuff, that's who I think will win. It might be Christie. It might be Hackney Swindle. I think Steve Kennedy has a really good shot to
John
show
Cox.
out in this Classic. John Cox, he's on my fantasy team.
No, don't try to take my guy.
Hey,
but also, guys, I fully expect Brandon Cobb to be completely aware. We are going to release his seminar in a couple weeks, and it's all about the run and gun style of tournament fishing versus the slow and methodical style of fishing. Brandon is somebody who's really good at both. He won Lake Fork running and gunning as if it was a back home herring spawn. You know, he won Lake Hartwell that same year, dropping the trolling motor and covering a lot of ground during the spawn and letting it come to him. I'm fully confident that Brandon's going to figure that out better than anybody. I expect him. I mean, he's my pick to win, but I expect him to have a great tournament. Ronnie said the wild card, you know, that boat pressure. If it's a slow and methodical tournament, I don't think the boats are going to be that big of a deal because they won't be running around. He'll be able to be on his trolling motor and going. But if it's a run and gun tournament, that might really, really present problems for somebody with a lot of boats watching. So I'm excited.
I've been at the Grand Lake tournament, the Grand Lake Classic. I'm taking this opportunity to brag that I was in a classic.
I was just going to say, is this where we turn this whole thing about you?
This is where we turn it.
All right.
But I saw Kevin.
They were not biting a Black Cinco that week.
JK bragged about his win on Hartwell, so I'm taking my turn.
Go ahead.
Here we go.
Anyway, Kevin had like 100 boats. I swear I'd never seen it in my life. It was a flotilla. I happened to pull up on a spot that was near him, and I could see him off in the distance. And they were having parties. They had like pontoon boats, music. Everybody was chilling, just having a ball watching Kevin fish the Classic. And I was tickled to death not to have that kind of entourage, you know, because
exactly.
I could fish, but he still outperformed me 10-1 with all his boats, you know.
And I will say one of my favorite flotilla stories from the Classic is from Chris Jones, not the weigh-in MC. Chris Jones, the Oklahoma angler, who got third in the Classic last year. His first Classic appearance was at Gunnersville. It was my first Classic as a worker, 2014. And that was back. He had a nitro, and it was a nitro team boat. You know, it was red and black wrap. Little different than Kevin's, but it wasn't his boat wrap, obviously, but it was close. And Chris, as a Classic rookie, you know, qualified from the Opens from winning it, takes off to his first spot, puts down, and he's got 40 people following him because they followed the wrong red and black nitro wrap boat. Awesome. And he's like, what is this tournament that we call the Bassmaster? Why does everyone have 40 boats following him? And it's one of the funniest stories. But he was not spun out the whole day, but it messed up his morning. I mean, and then all of a sudden everyone's like, that's not Kevin. That's Chris Jones.
That's some other guy.
And you're like, oh my God, no one wants to follow me. And so it was very funny, but that is an X factor.
Let me give you some advice from Ike for all the Classic competitors, and I'm going to take you back 20 years almost to 2003. And we're down at the Mississippi Delta. And this is Mike's big Classic win. And Mike and I are talking about it because his patterns are shallow. Like, he can't have people coming in. He just can't have it. It's going to kill everything. So, we're talking about it, and he's wanting to work with me on, like, decoy strategies, just like you're talking about, like
split at the river and you go right, I go left.
Yeah, hoodies.
Pete, go long.
Yeah. And we had all these things that we were trying to figure out to get them comfortable to go out there, and it just all back. It was just horrible. Nothing worked, and he just decided on the last day that I don't care. If you're going to follow me. It's not part of my plan. I'm not going to factor that. I'm concentrating on the fish, and he won the Classic. Getting that getting that monkey off your back and not thinking about it was.
He's hard to keep up with.
Well, that all by itself.
He's on pad before most people are sitting in their seat.
He goes through over sandbars, through woods.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, on the Delaware, he was hard to keep up with.
Yeah.
It's a 40-foot deep shipping channel.
Yep.
But he's.
Well, hey, let's dive. Greg, I'm going to throw it to you, man. We got this stable condition. We got a great classic field. Is it spotted bass? Is it largemouth? Who's your pick?
I have 2 picks.
What?
Talk to me.
I have to pick Brandon Cobb because I think he's going to adjust no matter what happens, period. But I'm going to go with Jacob Porosnik.
Whoa. Hey, well, he's a winner.
He
is a winner.
He's on a really hot streak from the Opens last year.
Right.
But not even that. He's really good on spotted bass. He's very good on pre-spawn, spawn, largemouth. And I just think he's at that point in his career.
Here's some stats for you, Greg. Last 2 classics at Hartwell. 5th place finishes for Jacob Porosnik in both of them, the coldest classic and the one that was the warmest, classic for Hartwell that we had there. So whether it is maybe that cold ditch bite, where they're actually coming from the winter into the pre-spawn pattern, or if it's the one that transitions to a spring classic kind of, he's factored in both of them. So I will call Greg out. That's not sneaky. That's just no one's talking about Porosnik, but I mean the stats don't lie. He's gonna do well probably.
I have fished, at this point in my career with a handful of guys, and I've never seen anybody as instinctive as Jacob.
Yeah.
Really?
That's what I'm saying.
He channels his inner Wu Dave.
He's different. He's just different. He just knows when he makes a change, it's because there's a reason in his mind that tells him to do it. He don't talk about it. He just does it.
Right.
Yep.
Well, he's a super talent, and he wins at an alarmingly high rate. I mean, he's got a lot of wins under his belt on a variety of tournament trails. So that's a great pick.
Yeah.
Jacob.
I will add in a guy, and I want to see what your guys' thoughts on this. But I talked about it the week before the first Bassmaster event of the year, the Open at the Kissimmee Chain, Toho, and all those lakes down there. I said, man, Brandon Lester is at the top of the list for comes to guys who have done so well but haven't won an event. And then he goes and wins that Open that week. He's done so well in Florida in general. I did a stat on Bass Live, whether it was Opens or Elites, the last 10 times Brandon Lester was in Florida, he's got a top 35. Like his worst finish was 35, his second worst is 28, and then like everything was top 16. And that's Opens, that's Elites, that's Okeechobee, that's Harris Chain, that's Kissimmee, and that's St. John's. There's so many places. It's not just like, oh, he's good at this lake. And I was like, what kind of momentum, now that he's made the final day at the Harris Chain, what kind of momentum could he carry into the Classic? And with the conditions that are setting up, I mean, he's a wormer. If it was a worm-only Classic, he'd probably win it. But, man, this is also getting to his comfort zone of locking a jig and fishing some docks or covering the water, with a chatterbait or a square bill or a DT6 or something. I like Brandon Lester. I just kind of messed up, and I arranged the Bassmaster fantasy fishing buckets with Kyle Jesse, and we put him in one of the most stacked buckets because he belongs there. But I'm like, who do you pick now? So I like Lester, and I like his demeanor, and maybe sometimes we've seen it. Guys have won a Classic before they win an Elite, and he could be one of those guys that does it. Hank Cherry's never won an Elite. He won the All-Star event, obviously, when he won Rookie of the Year, which is a segmented, sub-elite event, smaller deal. But some of those guys are just wired to win 3-day events. It's just a different deal.
Jordan Lee hasn't won an Elite, has he?
Nope.
No.
Nope. Maybe never will. Who knows? But
Well, Brandon
Maybe.
Lester,
Hopefully he comes back.
Brandon Lester, as you say, is a wormer, as is Brian the Carpenter.
Once you've had worm, that's all you'll yearn.
What's your pick?
Cox.
John Cox. And you said that earlier. I just wanted to confirm it.
I feel like conditions are leading shallow, and he's just,
He's won there before.
Yeah.
He won on a combination of sight fish and pre-spawn largemouth.
Okay.
He's just got a knack.
Knew which
He's a
fish
natural.
to fit.
All right. We got Prosnick. We got John Cox. What you say, Riz?
What say you, Riz?
Are we betting on this?
I'm going.
Is
we
there money
should.
involved?
Yeah, $20 a man.
$20
I'm
on
going
the
Already in one
table.
pool. Let's go.
Jason Christie.
Christie,
The
great
one on
pick.
YouTube?
He wants revenge.
Or the
Yeah,
one?
write this down. Let's put some money on it.
All right.
Nobody's allowed to pick Cobb. Highest finisher wins.
I picked Lester. If we're going, I broke down a lot of guys, but I will stick with Lester. And Kimmel said he'd spot me 20 since he made a big, checks, and he's a pro fisherman now and stuff. So he said he would spot me the 20.
I like
With
it.
that,
Brian's
there,
gonna
yeah.
spot you 20. He's pulling out the
But I
bankroll.
would spot you 20 for sure.
Good.
If we're not no cob allowed, and
No
Brian
cob
beat me to
allowed.
cock, I'm taking.
Why is
God,
no
you took-
cob
I'll take-
allowed?
We're all going to be together.
Because that's not any fun. He's the favorite. Like if Vegas odds, he'd be like twice as favorite.
We're not
Yeah,
playing
it wouldn't
odds.
be a profitable bet.
We're talking about who's going to win this tournament. Who's going to win? Who's your pick,
So
Kimmel?
is it win?
Brandon Cobb. Brandon Cobb.
All
So it's
right.
not highest
Brandon Cobb
finisher.
showed chinks
There
in the
you go.
armor when we had
It's
him
win
on
only.
like live the other
Win
night.
only.
Not highest finisher.
Not highest finish.
Okay.
He was
So-
moderately confident.
Who?
But I do
Brandon.
like Steve Kennedy. I do like Steve Kennedy
Steve
in this,
Kennedy's a good one too.
He needs some
Waterford
redemption as well.
in this one, man.
JK,
All right. Is it down to Alex?
$40 now.
Alex, what's your pick?
Where the hell's Alex at? Hold on, wait. He's behind his curtain. There's a bath towel.
The host has stopped my video.
Yeah, you took away Ron's video.
There,
Alex
we're
is
back.
coming in.
There's Alex.
There
There
we
he
go.
is behind the curtain.
Well, my pick was Jason Christie, but Riz beat me to that. So now I gotta
You could double up. Just
do some
cut the money.
research here.
Hey, you want to know, Alex? You want to know another pick that is not been said as much, but who has done well every time at Hartwell? Is Greg Hackney. Hackney's done good finishes at Hartwell.
Want to know what's?
Quit
I'm gonna let
quit
Alex get
helping
his pick
him,
before I
Justin.
say something. But I had I had something for Jason Christie earlier about some of the high finishes. But Alex can do his pick, and I'll get into that. So that'll segue us.
All right.
Yeah, I'll go ahead. I think that's a good bet, Greg Hackney. I am kind of mad though at Ronnie for the way he organized these fantasy fishing buckets because I got about 5 people I want to pick out of the first bucket, but I guess that's
Do it
why
for
they
Drain the
do it
Lake.
that
Do
way.
it for Drain the Lake. Then, yeah. Do it.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to do that. Well, yeah, I'll go with Hackney, and then Ronnie, I know you wanted to add a little something about Christie there.
Well, I talked to Christy about it, but the 10 anglers will have live on day one, and I'll go ahead and just kind of list them off just so, a Bass U exclusive, so I get some good love that I brought something to the show.
Go
But
ahead.
we will have Seth Fighter, Hank Cherry, obviously AOY and Classic champ. We will have Brandon Cobb. We will see Jason Christie, Greg Hackney, Gerald Swindle. We'll have Taku Ito, Brandon Polinick, Chris Zaldane, and Patrick Walters. So that's a pretty good 10 on camera. We'll get a good look of the lake. But I looked at a lot of those anglers' finishes, and I kind of wrote down some notes for the live show and some of our graphics guys of career classic appearances, highest classic finishes. And if anybody had top 10s, I kind of listed where they had top 10s. A lot of our guys who have had top 10s at Hartwell also have top 10s at Grand Lake. And I asked Jason Christie why that maybe is, him being an Oklahoma guy, why he would thrive at Hartwell. He's won here before as well. Why he would thrive here, and then why a guy from out of state would have great finishes at both those places. And he really kind of broke down that the way that fish like to get in the backs of creeks, that they're both reservoir type deals. Yes, the watercolor is different. Yes, the main primary forage for a lot of the fish might be different. But the way that those lakes react in the spring, I thought it was very interesting because when you think about it, I mean, I literally think about Grand Lake as a mud puddle in the spring, and Hartwell always is clear, and you look for color. And so there are contrasts there, but the way some of the Hackney's best finishes are at Hartwell and Grand Lake in some classes. And Swindle, I talked to him today about it. I was brutally honest with him. And I said, gee, you've been my hero for a long time. I know a lot about you. We've spent a lot of time together, and I've covered, this will be my 10th classic that I've been at, 9 working with Bassmaster. And I said, I can be honest with you. Since we moved into the spring, you have sucked in the classics. You have done terribly. But summertime classics, 2005 and previous, he has a great record. He loves fishing in the summer, and something about that colder water doesn't vibe with him for 3 days of a classic.
It's his knees.
But the one time that he did it was top 10 at Hartwell last time we were here. More conditions similar to this year, and he even had boat trouble. That like day 2 and day 3, he had boat trouble. He lost like 4 hours of Bassmaster Classic competition time, and still got a top 10. And you always could play that what if, like, What if, Jordan Lee broke down and he still won the Classic? So what if he didn't break down? You don't know. But all I know is he had some momentum and energy, and I know he's going to try to harness that again. So it is very different how those Oklahoma guys or guys that vibe and jive well with Grand Lake also do the same with Hartwell. So I don't know if Kimmel's fished Grand or been around it enough to attest to that, but there's something about it. Stats, you can make them say any truth that you want them to. I know there's a lot of people who twist a lot of numbers in the fishing industry, but when it comes to fishing,
politics,
it's hard. Those numbers, they will tell a story. The same thing with the St. John's. I talked to John Cruz about it and some other anglers. I brought it up during live. 90%, the top 10 biggest bass at the St. John's, the top 10 biggest limits at the St. John's in elite history. 90% of the biggest bass in history, which are all 10 pounders and up at the St. John's, basically, 90% of those happen day 1 or 2 of an event. And we haven't always had on bed spawning events at St. John's. It's been cold times as well. But then 90% of the giant bags over 29 pounds always happen on the weekend at the St. John's, day 3 and day 4. And we saw that this year. The 2 biggest bass of the tournament, a 9.13 by Cobb on day 1 and a 9.7 by Caleb Summerall on day 2. Then we had a 32-pound bag and Bob Downey's 29-pound bag on the day 3 and day 4. And the biggest bass of the day was 8 pounds. I don't get it, but there's trends to numbers. And so I looked into that Hartwell Grand thing, and I'll keep an eye on some of those guys who maybe rise up, and we'll get, it's a good story to look at anyways, because there are way across the country, but similarities for sure.
It's great stuff. Great picks by all. And
that can't be true.
It's my pick.
It can't be great picks by all.
They are
clearly somebody had a horrible pick.
We're gonna find
you
out.
You can't tell
All right.
It's event's over, Pete.
Let's have like the
nonsense.
Let's have the miscellaneous bet. Like you had the worst pick. Let's have a $10 pool for that.
Yeah, whoever has the worst pick amongst the group.
$20
That's
for the winner.
That's what you got.
But what's my pick?
Yeah, what's your pick?
Who cares?
I can see your pick.
Right?
All right, go ahead. Black Second.
He's a classic angler. Respect him, Stockel.
You're right,
Ron. We talked about them all. You talked about them just for at length here.
Hold on, let me go full screen.
And my three picks were 2 were taken by guys. So I wasn't sure who I was going to go with, but it became clear after everybody talked and after Ronnie gave his observations. But I had Hackney, not in any order. Hackney. He just wins. He's such a good shallow water angler. Cox has an innate ability to win. BTC stole that from me.
Beat it.
My third pick, it's time, guys. It's time. Gerald Swindle is going to win the Classic this year.
Ooh.
That's going to happen.
It happened.
I'm a big fan.
It's hard for me. It's hard for me to say. I'm not going to disclose what some of the anglers, when we asked them what they had found or what their strategy was. I will say Swindle's strategy was a little different than I thought it would be. So we will see how it plays out. Or if he scraps it in an hour, who knows?
He is going to come into a certain cove and pocket. He is going to catch Pete's meat, and he's going to win this tournament.
I will say
this is going to be a slugfest. This thing's going to show out.
Yeah.
What do you think, Kimmel? What do you think that weight? Yeah. What do you think that weight's going to be? I like 2 weeks ago I put the weight as 53.15, but I do you think it could be bigger than that?
I have my fantasy thing, the tiebreaker at 53.15, and I upped it to 56 even. I upped it to 56 even. Now, speaking of fantasy, there's a group called Beat Ronnie Moore. So Ronnie takes it very seriously. So I want to stack up because I play, and I want to stack up against Ronnie. I'm ranked like 800 in the world right now. I think I'm doing decent so far. Ronnie, what's your fantasy team picks? Because I want to see how I'm going to measure up against Ronnie all weekend. I'm going to
break out the golden rule.
Well, let me
put them on the
my
glass,
team
boys.
up. I will say I am much better at Mercury Drain the Lake, where you can only pick the angler one time all year. I am much better at that strategy.
The game.
It's a great eliminator. You use them, you lose them. Here's my 5. I'll be honest with you, and I will say before I give my 5, I wanted to say that you mentioned Steve Kennedy. I think a guy who fishes a lot like Steve Kennedy that has had just as terrible of a start to the season as Steve Kennedy is Kyle Welcher. I think that Kyle, if I think that this could line up, this is his style. It's Kennedy's style. And I think that some of these guys that have had maybe terrible, we talk about momentum, those two guys couldn't have, scripted a worse start to their season. And could they wipe it all away right here with a great classic and then get it in gear for Santee and beyond? But my 5 picks for Rapala Bassmaster Fantasy Fishing is I got Bucket A Jason Christie, and I may change that tomorrow. I'm going to ride with him. Who knows? I may not like what I see, but I know I'm not going to change. I never change it. I take it on the chin because I can't win anything anyways, even if I did well, other than the hearts and souls of the guys who follow me on Beat Ronnie Moore. But Bucket B, I've got Swindle. I have Christie and Swindle. And then these next 2 picks are for I think these guys fish very similar, and I love me some dock fishing. And I think these two may do some of that as well this week. And that's Matt Herron and Josh Strassner in Bucket C and Bucket D. I really like those guys here, and they don't really get shook up about much. I know Strassner smiled today when he shook my hand. We hadn't really met in person too much, but I've talked to him for a long time. Hey, I picked him for Rookie of the Year last year, and so I looked real smart. But he was smiling at the meeting, and I'm like, Josh, like you don't show emotion, so you're smiling. That's a good thing. And then Bucket E, I've got Joey Nania. So I kind of disclosed all of those at previous times, but I think that I think Joey's been one of those opens grinders. He's been there just pursuing it and really cutting his teeth at his craft. And boy, to qualify for a classic that's kind of your craft. I mean, the kid, I'm not even gonna say kid because, well, he started fishing Bassmaster as a champion when he was like 12. He won the junior national championships with the federation and stuff. But Joey, he's a forward-facing sonar guru and a Ned Meeky style guy for spotted bass. And that's his style, but he also is one of the guys who throws a chatterbait, more than anybody. And so some of those things, that's a perfect Hartwell mixture. And then he won on the TVA, he won on Pickwick. He doesn't even pull himself away from the Coosa enough to fish other places, and he still won on Pickwick in the opens. And so I think that's I kind of went with more of a shallow mindset with my 5 there. My Drain the Lake is definitely 4 shallow guys and 4 maybe spotted bass ditch guys. But like I said, any of these guys can know they need to adjust and adapt and go in on a pattern you wouldn't expect. So they're the best in the world for a reason, and 55 of them competing on Friday is going to be awesome.
Good deal. Now I know what I'm up against.
Who's your 5 then? You got to give me your 5. So I know what I'm up against. Okay.
Brandon Cobb, John Cox, Steve Kennedy. I don't know how he got into Bucket D because he's one of the hottest anglers on the planet right now, David Mullins.
I knew you were going to say that. Yep.
Well, and he's on right now, and it's setting up for him. And then Shane Powell. Shane Powell won the team championship. He was Jordan Lee's former. I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but Shane's got a style that.
Well, tell it. You got to tell it because the fans watching on Bass U need to,
So he was Jordan Lee's team partner at Auburn after Matt Lee left. And Jordan stayed back. They duked it out for that classic bid that Jordan eventually won. And Shane has been running house down at Eufaula. He's one of the best local sticks, period. If you're going to go to Eufaula, Shane is one of the 3 guys you're going to have to deal with every time. And I think he's got the game, man, to come up here and, he's buddies with Jordan. So he obviously had to know how Jordan did it, but he's just a hammer. So he's somebody that a lot of guys don't know, but I expect to really, I think he gets to day 3 for sure, top 25.
When you think about the ABT, the Alabama Bass Trail, Kay Donaldson, I mean, that is literally like the opens is the training ground for the elites.
Yep.
But if we're going to have a mini opens, it's probably the ABT. You know what I'm saying? Like it is the ABT, or it's the group of guys who fish Minnetonka and Mille Lacs against each other and knock each other's brains in. Some of those regions of the country are just very, very tough to beat when you get
or the South Jersey Winter League is another one to throw in that mix.
Yeah, big time.
It's always hard if your boat 57 though in a 100 boat event, you're gonna fish the same grass as the boat 1 guy, but you're just gonna get there much later, So I get it though.
Well,
boat 100 in a Winter League, man, that'd be crazy.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
On a 200-acre lake.
We don't.
He didn't for keto, I'll tell you that much.
70 acres.
Man,
maybe.
we'd all be throwing at the same tree on the bank for 8 hours. I think they do that in some of those big tournaments.
That's what they do anyways, right?
Well,
That's that slow methodical we were talking about, not the run and gun.
Oh, go get breakfast.
Patience. Hey, Ronnie, that was awesome, man. Such great information. It's just incredible, and I'm glad we had you on. So excited. We're going to be watching and, cheering for these guys. Of course, everybody's going to be cheering for my pick, Gerald Swindle, so you guys have no chance. But it's going to be a lot of fun. Do you want to do the trivia question maybe now, or do you want to let Ronnie go? Do you want to let him participate? What do you want to do, BTC?
Well, hang tight.
Hang tight.
hang tight. Somebody, Greg, say something. Cool. Say something cool.
I got something for you. Ronnie,
to me.
it's been a really long time since I've been on your fantasy fishing team. But get ready. Things are getting ready to change. So you better start putting me on there.
Ronnie, I got a bone to pick with you, my friend.
I knew it was coming.
He didn't answer me back, though.
Okay.
Hey,
Greg,
first
answer GDP's bone, and then I got mine.
I've been
Greg,
busy. I've been really busy the last 2 years, but now I'm back and I'm ready. So get ready.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. There are those guys who maybe have a child and their fishing takes a back seat. There are those ones who finally make the decision to ask someone to marry them, and then fishing takes a back seat. And you were in that group. And now that you've done the right deal and you're a married man now, you made the right decision. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, at a certain point, Greg has outkicked his coverage. Ain't nobody coming back there to tackle the punt returner. Somebody's got to get him down. And so finally you made the decision. So congratulations on that. I'm super happy for the DiPalmas. But now, the return of Greg could be something good. I just don't want to put pressure on you. And I know that you pay attention. Some guys don't even know I pick them, but I know you pay attention to
I
it.
pay attention.
And I don't want to pressure you.
No, listen. I'm the kind of person that the more pressure that comes on, the better I do. I'm opposite. So I'm
waiting for the
I need
James
more
River
pressure.
and a spinning rod, and I'm putting you on the team.
Oh, well, Santee's going to be one of the events.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, all right.
We'll see, Ronnie.
I got one more for Ronnie, but I think, Pete, you had something for him, too.
He's got a bone to pick, so I don't know if I need the bone to pick or the question.
Well, you owe me for this because I was leading the Lake Erie tournament, and you had the option to follow me and cover me and bring the Ronnie Moore good luck so I could win the big trophy, and you opted to take the shorter boat ride with smaller waves and left me to finish outside of first place. And I'm still very.
But my question is, I had a
upset.
job. I had a job. I needed to cover the winner of the Open. And did I cover the winner of the Open?
Oh, Ronnie!
Whoa! Yeah, that's my point.
Who won that tournament?
Whitney Stevens did.
Whitney
Stevens did.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
Whitney Stevens did.
I will say, Pete,
yeah?
You are much more media savvy and comfortable with media. Back then, you were elusive. I'm like, hey, where are you going to be? And you're like, you're going to have to follow me. And I'm like, I am not going well into Canada past Peely just to follow you. And I don't know if I'm going to break my boat. I don't know what's going to happen. But I will say that final day, if we waited 15 minutes to send us on Sandusky, I love Chris Bowes, but if we waited 15 more minutes, we weren't sending us because it got worse and worse. I mean, I literally, I feel like I've had a concussion. When we came off one of those peaks and we went and landed in the trough, I literally felt my teeth make new impressions. Like my molars affected my bottom ones, and now they're
welcome
molded
to the
differently.
north, Ron.
Yeah,
because I hit that. So that's one of my favorite tournaments I've ever covered, though. That was incredible.
It's not my favorite.
That's the first time I met you, Ronnie. That tournament.
Say what?
Is that right?
That's the first time I met Ronnie Moore.
No kidding.
Yeah, I came in 13th.
Yeah, because you were right there. Avina was right there. Whitney was right there. Obviously it was a very hot area. So I said
whoever Ronnie Moore covered won the tournament, and he didn't cover me. And that's,
cover Pete Gluszek or
upset.
cover three more guys. I covered the three more guys. So.
Yep.
All right, I got one more thing for Ronnie because
Okay.
he brought up something interesting on why he didn't pick DiPalma because he, was in one of the years where he's getting engaged or married or whatever the excuse was. But we also know the flip side to this. Now Ronnie's running this because he's about to become a new dad.
The
Congrats.
spawn pattern, yes, the spawn pattern.
Yeah, the baby pattern, as I called it. I like the spawn pattern. Is there anybody in the field that's coming in on
Spawning.
the baby pattern?
Who's currently spawning?
Everyone on the Elite Series
Yeah,
is
they're
pregnant.
all.
Did you not know this? As of the last 3 days,
Hit
Mike
us
Huff,
with it.
huh?
Hit us
Oh,
with who's in the classic
Mike
field.
Mike Huff just they're not in the classic field, but Mike Huff just announced they're pregnant.
He's spawned.
Obviously, Polinick announced a few weeks ago, and then you have Jake Whitaker and his wife Haley just announced they're pregnant. Like everybody
Awesome.
is, and I'm all about it. But I just, I
Y'all
think
love
it's, huh?
Polinick's running the baby pattern to Hartwell right now.
He is, and they, I told
Hard-
Brandon
hard to
today
mess
in
with
person. I said, I'm very mad at you, Brandon. I'm very happy that you guys are going to have a baby. I'm very happy. It's one of the coolest things that I've ever been able to experience the last 37 weeks. And it honestly is, I can't talk about it right now because I'm literally I feel like tears coming up. But it's very, very cool. I'm very excited to experience that. But I told Brandon, I said, dude, you ruined my next announcement reveal because I told my wife, we had already posted the ultrasounds. Everybody knew we were pregnant. And I said, I should have got on the front deck of my boat and pointed my graph at you and video shopped the ultrasound on there. I said, that would have been epic for our sport. That's how we announce it. And Brandon went and did it. Now, if I do it for the next baby, I'm a copycat, but I'm like, of course, it makes me feel very good when an innovator and a guy who is always, thinking outside the box does something I thought of. I'm like, man, he just did it. But no, it's very cool. I know you've experienced that, Justin, and I'm so thrilled. So
yeah, that's great. Man,
it's going to happen during Santee as well. I guarantee you, it's going to happen during Santee. I'm going to have an epic. I've got to leave Bassmaster Live moment. I'm going to take off the headset and the mic, and I'm going to go to the hospital. I guarantee it.
Hey, Ronnie, we have an announcement right here. Greg, go ahead, take over.
I don't have an announcement now.
You just said something. What'd you say?
We're working on a baby.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, tell us about it.
Well, you know how it goes.
No, tell us. No, Mike's yours. Go ahead.
Call Kelly.
Practice is key. GDP.
Is that what
we
it is?
we should do a PowerPoint on this.
All right.
This could be the next seminar.
We'll talk about it in the classic. We'll do a seminar.
We're going to do a seminar at the Classic.
Yeah.
Hey, it's understandable. At least you're in the official practice window, though, Greg. You're not in unofficial practice. This is the official practice window.
That window is small.
Yes.
It's short.
Like 3-4 days a month.
I just show up.
When they pull up.
Oh, I love it. Let's go to the trivia question.
Why does your show always turn to this? Every time.
Because you're here.
All right.
No, it's why, because I'm here.
All right.
This is
Tonight's
true.
trivia question being presented to you by all of us
Greg
at the
DiPalma.
Bass University and Tackle Direct is tonight's trivia question, is presented to you by Hobie Eyewear. And guys, if you didn't tune in earlier, tonight's grand prize trivia question is going to be a pair of Mojo Hobie floating eyewear sunglasses. These things are bad to the bone.
They are bad.
They are
the question,
guaranteed to get your wife pregnant.
Yeah,
if you wear them.
guaranteed.
And win two classics because they're
Yeah.
obviously Hank inspired.
Hank inspired.
Tonight's grand prize trivia question is on Taylor Watkins' setup. We talked about it in the first segment. He mentioned what his setup was. What was his rod length and action? What was his reel speed? And what type of line and line weight was he using? Okay, I'll say it again one more time. What was his rod length and action? What was the reel speed? And what type of line and what pound line was he using?
It's very curious that you chose a trivia question when we were talking about pregnancy and you emphasized length and action.
Pete.
That's what it's about.
Mac Attack came in instantaneously with that. Didn't even have one. Well, he gave me extra information, but I'm going to give it to him anyway. 7.3 medium heavy rod, 20 pound fluorocarbon, and a 7:1 gear ratio.
Sean got that?
That was Sean McAttack Forrest with the correct answer.
What was the type of line, though? You didn't say type of line. You just said
fluorocarbon. 20 pound fluorocarbon.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about brand. My bad. I thought you were talking about brand.
7.3 medium heavy, 20 pound fluorocarbon, and a 7:1 real speed, and he even threw in their 3/4 ounce spinnerbait, which was the weight that he was throwing on the spinnerbait. So good job, Sean. Mac Attack Forest.
Ronnie, I gotta ask you this question because it's gotta feel similar. Does Riz have like the same voice that you're?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. You're blank.
Yeah, I am blank. I went blank.
Hold on, we go
Zona. Z has. Is it just like Z? It sounds just like Z to me when I'm listening to you.
He's got the low pitches down pat, but
Yeah.
Z's is like literally the softest butter.
Yes.
Like it literally like just Zona, just talk to me and I'll be everything, all my pain will go away. I just love Z's voice.
I agree.
Tommy's got the voice, and everyone's like, I will say this, my first year of Bass Live 2017, I struggled. I used to come home and be so mad, and Sarah's like, what's wrong? I was trying to be like Zona, being funny. I was trying to be like Tommy and real diplomatic and leading the conversation. And I said, I have to just go all in on who I am. I have to be passionate, excited. I don't have octaves that are below normal. Here's normal. All my octaves are up here. He's got that silky tones down here. I just don't reach that yet. I said, but I'm still a young whippersnapper. Once I hit 3.0 or something, I'll be able to have lower octaves. I just got to bring, I got to bring the excitement. I'm still a little boy according
How
to
old are you, Ron?
28.
Jeez.
Wow.
28.
Whippersnapper.
And that's what's crazy. This is my 9th year working with Bass. I'm 28. That's crazy. What a blessing.
Robbing
And
the cradle
before I
over
do
there.
go, I feel like y'all are going to let me go in just a minute, or we'll talk all night. It's Facebook's free,
Ron, I
right?
got to go
think
home
it's
and
free
pack,
still.
and goddamn plane's taking off at like 6 in the morning.
You're having this crazy tournament we got to show up to.
Any fans that are at the expo this week that are in Greenville, I suggest if you're at a hotel in Greenville, make a trip to Anderson for the takeoff at least one day this week and experience that. That whole amphitheater at Green Pond is going to be a very cool atmosphere. Always big crowds there. They always have the fire truck with the huge American flag. Always a very cool takeoff at that place. And I will also say, if those fans who show up to the Classic are at the expo and they're wandering around every day, come up to the Bassmaster Live booth and say hey to us. It is literally, it makes my year. Despite working 37 straight days to start this season, leading into having a baby and being so tired, setting the tone for what it's going to be like being a future father.
No doubt.
It refuels me seeing these fans, and they want to come up and just say, hey, they want to call me. There was kids calling me the king of fantasy fishing last night, and I was like laughing because Zona just said during a commercial break, you need to self-proclaim yourself as that and own it. That's your thing. And I was like, we'll do it, whatever. Who's going to say no? And so the fans are the sport. And I know at Bass, we care a lot about the fans, and I know the anglers do as well. And so come by, say hey, watch the show there in the expo. If you want to linger around somewhere, that's the place to be and linger around, or the Bass U booth, because you guys have it playing as well most of the time. But I will say the fans are the sport. I was one of the kids behind the velvet ropes. And I don't know if I've ever told this story, but I'll do it real quick. My first Classic was, as a fan, was 2010 Birmingham, and it was Lay Lake, and everyone fished in beeswax. I was out there in the boat with my dad. We made the long drive down, and for one, my mom let us go. For two, my dad always wanted to take me. And so I'm very thankful that they introduced me to this sport that now we all love on this call and everyone watching. So that was very cool. But I remember my dad, it translated over from the NHRA. You guys know dragsters and funny cars like that you sit there and wait, and they go 4 seconds and the race is done, but it's exhilarating. We used to wait behind the pits.
Is that what it's like, Greg?
Get an autograph. Yeah, exactly. Greg knows, he's in the spawn season. But we used to wait outside the ropes there for the racers, and we were patient. He taught me patience there, and we got autographs. Well, when it translated over to bass fishing, we were inside the amphitheater there at the BJCC and the Legacy Arena and all that stuff there in Birmingham. And they had the hooked up stage. That was when Tommy and Z would do the live report back to ESPN Live back in the day for the final weigh-in. And Dad and I waited with the whole crowd. We waited there forever. Everyone leaves. The show is wrapping up. All of my future coworkers are packing up the show. And Tommy and Z decide to walk over to the fencing because we're the only two people there. It's like 10 o'clock at night. And I just remember being 2010. I was, 16 or 15 years old, I think, something like that. And I sat there and I said, I'm so excited to meet you, Mr. Mark. And that's the last time I called him Mark. But it was so nice to meet Zona, so nice to meet Tommy. And I said, one day I'm going to work on the show with you guys. And Zona gave me one of those, and I remind him all the time because it's so cool how you can pursue your dreams in anywhere you want to go and make it happen. That I said, I'm going to work with you on the show one day, on your show or on Bassmaster or something. I'm going to work with you. And he said, keep it up, kid, work hard, and you never know what'll happen. And he probably said that line to 9,000 kids in his lifetime. And I will still cry to this day thinking about that moment because I'm here and I'm doing something that I love. And now there are kids that are 15, pay me 12, and there are 55-year-old men that will come up and be like, I'm so, I love watching the show. You're awesome. Thankful for what you bring to the show. You're an inspiration, all these different things that I don't deserve and I haven't necessarily earned yet. And that's why our sport's the best. And so I say, bring it. I get refueled for a tough season, a long season, every single classic by the fans. So one of the coolest memories every year is talking to different people.
Well, you have earned it, my friend.
Yeah.
It's been a wonder watching you grow and evolve into this role. And I enjoy all you bring to the show. And congratulations for that so much. It's wonderful. And thanks for being with us tonight.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate y'all. Thank you, BTC, for bothering the heck out of me.
Ron,
I was kind of elusive. I was a little Greg Hackney in my elusive.
You were doing a Gluszek.
Ron, fix it. Appreciate what?
Huh?
Appreciate what?
Appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Ron.
Oh, the cringe.
Ronnie Moore from Bassmaster Live. Thanks so much for being with us tonight, man. What
y'all.
Immense amount of information coming out of Ronnie. It's just impressive stuff.
Oh, he's out.
Yeah.
I like that.
You knew how to find the end button.
BTC, we were supposed to close the show out at like 9:30.
Dude.
Or 8:30.
It is 9:30. Yeah. I'm not the one that did all the talking. It's you guys. Sitting over
I didn't
here.
talk that much tonight.
I'm just sitting over here drinking. Yeah, Greg
Yeah.
didn't. Nobody let Greg talk tonight. It's a bunch of crap.
That's not true. It's not true at all. Do we have a Facebook like and share winner?
We do. Tonight's Facebook like and share winner for the Bass University. Thank you to everybody who tuned in tonight. We appreciate everybody who watches. And guys, don't forget, if you are watching on Facebook, make sure you got your notifications turned on for the Bass University. That's how you're going to be able to stay up to date with everything that we have going on across all of our channels. And also, guys, if you listen to the show on iTunes podcast, please give us a like and leave us a review. That helps us a ton. We appreciate everybody that watches on Facebook, whether you watch on Bass U TV, YouTube, all of the awesome channels. And if you're listening on podcast, we appreciate you too. Tonight's Facebook like and share winner is Eddie Hawk. Eddie Hawk from North Carolina. Congratulations. You are tonight's Bass University Facebook like and share.
Did Ronnie say he was ducking me? Is that what he said?
I don't know what that means.
No, you said you were harassing him. Well, is that the same thing?
Ronnie?
You know? Hey, I want to thank BDC for bailing me out when I couldn't come up with the name I was looking for. Appreciate your support.
Yeah. We need a dinner sponsor,
dude. A dinner sponsor?
Yeah, I'm freaking hungry, dude.
Denny's.
we need a dinner sponsor. We need dinner. This show brought to you by dinner.
You usually bring like sausage and peppers or
mozzarella.
I
didn't even have that much time tonight.
Come on.
Well, we do
everybody, we'll see you at the Classic.
Yes,
we do have.
Alex, what booth are we?
Well, hold on, Rich. We have this. What is
1439.
1439. That's right.
Thank you.
We have this granola. What's in there?
If anybody's hungry, check out Hoffman's Exterminating Bars. We have never eaten one, but we're not sure what'll happen if you eat an exterminating bar.
I've eaten one before.
So here we go. If Brian doesn't make it to the Classic, it's because he ate an exterminator bar.
Hey, we're going to be at the Bassmaster Classic. We all leave tomorrow. Come by and see us at the Bass University booth. All you guys that are subscribers, make sure you come by and see us. We've got something really cool for you. And we're going to be filming. We're going to be interviewing. We're going to be doing all kinds of stuff at the Bass U booth, as well as, this is really, really cool, we have one of the original Bassmaster Classic boats.
Oh yeah.
In our booth.
Wow.
It's what's it? 1971, I think, from Lake Mead. It's one of a few that are left.
Wow.
One of two that are left. It's going to be in the Bass University booth. So come by and check it out and visit with us. We look forward to seeing you there. And thanks for being with us. We're going to be back. We're not going to be back here live next week, but we will be back after that talking about.
So we're taking off next week?
Yeah, next week is everybody's traveling. So we'll miss next week until further notice. You know, we might call you in, you know, at the last minute. Yeah. But, hey, you know.
Wait, one more thing. Anybody coming to the Classic? There's an Ike Live after party Sunday night.
You better stay.
Here's this corporate flyer we got with not cool on it, but logos and sponsor obligations.
Yeah, I'll probably stay.
Yeah.
But
Sunday night, check it out. We'll give you an invite. We'll put it out there. We want everybody to come and hang out with us. But we're having an Ike Live after party, which we haven't had for a while.
A couple years.
It's been a couple years. Yeah. So we're having it again.
Come get it. Come have some beers with us.
Looking forward to that.
You guys can make a real long line and harass Mike. Look at my fish.
2019.
Yeah. Ronnie Moore, I want you there at the after party.
He'll be there.
Everybody else, thanks for watching. We're going to be back in 2 weeks with another episode of Bass University Live.
What is this? Hold on, Rich. I need an outro. Greg, say something for the outro.
That's a Bill Lewis rattle trap picture.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Rayburn red.
Greg, I'm Google.
Baby making central.
Rayburn red. Seed red.
Spawning season.
Spawning season.
You don't want to see red then.
Pete, crazy fish catch.
Yeah, guys want to watch Pete's fish catch for 20 minutes?
Oh, that'd be neat.
There we go. Let it roll. Let it fly.
Pete?
So
do it.
That should not have happened. That's one of those.
Where's
20,
this at?
20, 19 times out of 20, you don't catch that fish.
I'm going with Jake. Sorry, Pete. Overruled.